else.
What were you watching?
I was watching the Midnight Mormon talk about the Day of the Dead, but then I switched over to this. We'll start out with this. Here we go.
Definition. But as I look through these shades of maniacism, I know one thing for sure, nature boy Ric Flair. You better not be drowning yourself in pity. And Razor Ramon, you better slice open your heart and see what kind of soul you really have. For between the Macho Man Randy Savage and the Ultimate Warrior, there's a bond that can't be broken forever and ever and ever.
You must sink to the lowest depth before you can reach the greatest height. See it, the survivors.
That's what I like.
How did that take off? I don't understand it. I can respect it because they're very athletic, very acrobatic, they're very committed, and
I loved that stuff at the time.
Yeah,
I was watching that stuff when it was the current thing way back then.
Yeah,
but
see, I was a year old when that came out, so
I was pretty young still. I mean, I was young enough to be like, are they really? I mean, all of us from the start were like, I think that's fake. Yeah, I think it's fake. No, I think they're hitting. No, I think it's fake though. But we were that young. So
the only time I ever saw it, we didn't have any cable growing up. So the only time I ever saw it was when we were at my grandma's house watching, and there was absolutely nothing else on. And I've thought I was smarter than everybody else because I knew it was fake. Like I'd tell everybody, that's fake, right? And they'd be like, yeah. You think we're fucking stupid?
Yeah, I'd convince myself that I had a nuanced position, and my nuanced position was who won the wrestling match and who was wrestling was real, but the hits were fake. So it's like, only part of it's fake, but then the other part of it's really real.
How nuanced of you.
So nuanced. I was a nuanced hoe.
I was watching the first episode of season 7 of Rick and Morty.
You were? How's that?
I just wanted to see it because I wanted to hear the voice actors. And I don't know, like it. So it's easy enough to do a Rick. Pretty easy.
They sound kind of like them, but I've only heard short clips. I mean, I kind of figured if it went longer, it would expose.
Yeah, I didn't get very far into the episode. So it's not Rick or Morty that sounds weird to me. You can kind of tell if you can listen to like the core of the voice, but it's all of the ancillary characters around. Like, Bird Person sounds weird.
I'm
pretty sure Justin Roiland did Bird Person. He did a ton of characters. And the other part that I'm a little I'm curious to see the writing because I don't know how much of the writing that he did because he does a lot of the writing on Solar Opposites, and I didn't like that one at all.
They figured out a way to do some writing with the ad-libbing. So part of it is like they have the written lines, but then they say the lines, and then obviously it's a lot of it's ad-libbed at the spot, just like right there at the moment, because you can just tell from the way the talking is. There's no way they're writing that in and specifically having him voice the way they talk over onto already written, things.
I was just curious to see how Dan Harmon would do flying solo because I don't know. I think he's the more creative force as far as
he's a good writer.
He is a good writer.
Community and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll give it a chance. I didn't get far enough into the episode to know if it's really good or not.
Yeah, I fell off of that one a couple seasons ago, but never because it was that bad. I just fell off it. But
yeah, I know season 6 was pretty good. I don't think I finished season 6 actually, but
Charles Wagner was too cool for wrestling. No, nobody's too cool. The choice is Happy Dia de los Muertos. On this day, I was gonna wait a second for Flip to bring it up because the Midnight Mormons were talking about Dia de los Muertos. But on this day, 25 years ago, the Day of the Dead was the day I arrived in Mexico City for my mission, and that's what that picture was on the. I put it on the up here.
See, I got.
Oh yeah, there's Flip.
I realized I got a notification for like a Facebook post. Like yesterday was 11 years since the day I got back from my mission. And
That's All Saints Day. It was yesterday.
What's really funny to me, it made me laugh because I was like, I hit my 10-year marriage anniversary before I hit my 11 years back from my mission.
Wow.
You got married less than a year back?
I got back in November, went to school and met Morgan in January, got married in August.
I wasn't much better, but it wasn't 2 years, but it wasn't 1 year. So nah. But
What was it this year?
these are drones in the sky of Mexico City.
I've been back 22 years.
Yeah, I was 25 years.
There's more time between leaving the mission than going on it and birth. Yeah, at this point.
This picture right here, it was 25 years ago today.
What?
Yep, the day I arrived in Mexico City on the Day of the Dead.
Where'd you find that AI sombrero?
That's not AI. That's drones. That's actual
Fucking
drones.
That's
Drones
awesome.
above Mexico City on the Day of the Dead. Did you see some of the drones over for Halloween?
Wait a minute.
Drones over,
I thought sombreros were
Dubai?
offensive.
Oh,
Mexicans hate it when you talk about sombreros. They just get so mad.
Did no white woman from Berkeley come and let them know how offensive that is to Mexicans?
There's a really excellent They Might Be Giant song called Hovering Sombrero.
You want to know how else we could appropriate it? We could appropriate it.
Vamos apropiador.
Vamos apropriar. Vamos apropriar.
Vamos apropriarmos.
These guys say we should outright appropriate it. You guys listen for 1 minute because we're just talking Day of the Dead real quick.
Yeah. So anyways, we need a holiday. What are we going to call it? The Latter Day of the Dead?
Latter Day of the Dead. Well, actually, just to your point, you were saying Brigham Young, who's awesome. Brigham Young said basically what you're alluding to. He said, quote, "It is our duty and calling as ministers of the same salvation and gospel to gather every item of truth and reject every error, whether a truth be found with professed infidels, Universalists, Church of Rome, Methodists, Church of England, Presbyterian, Baptists, Quakers, Mexicans, Argentinians, wherever they're from, or any other various and numerous sects and parties, all of whom have more or less truth. It is the business of the elders of the church to gather up all the truths in the world pertaining to life and salvation and bring it to Zion." So what he's saying is, if the Day of the Dead is super awesome, then let's go get it.
Appropriation. I've been talking with Guatemax though, and they have Day of the Dead in Guatemala too, although it's different than the Mexican one. They don't like the skulls and all that.
Excuse me, but it's Guatemala.
Guatemala. That is just the height of white supremacy and white privilege.
Yeah, we just
Guatemala.
I want to hear enough of that lady pronouncing Latin American word so we can get an AI model of her.
First off, it's the peak of white supremacy that I did not say that, like Guatemala.
What a fucking idiot.
Guatemala.
What's the term for? There's got to be a term for people who just desperately try to step on other people to climb this corpse of dying social status seekers. And Natasha Helfer Parker is a really good example of that.
Yeah, that's who that was, wasn't it?
Yeah. She's one of the ones that...
No, was it? It was her?
Yeah, that was.
That was her, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I just saw somebody talking about... every time I see her mention, is somebody saying like, yeah, there's this really good episode of her. There's a really good interview where she explains how to do polyamory the right way or whatever. And I was like, how is this woman shocked that she was kicked out of the church? I can't believe they just kicked me out for what? For saying go fuck anyone you want? Of course they're gonna kick you out. Maybe you're right about it. I don't know, but they kick you out.
And how much?
I got more clips of them whining about it this week.
Also, how much time has she spent complaining about how priesthood leadership has no training and therefore no business talking about people's sexuality and how to do it, right or wrong?
They kicked me out.
But
you don't think they have any authority, so why do you fucking care?
No, but that's the point. She's like, oh, they don't have authority and they have no qualifications. But guess who does? Me. Listen to me. I'll tell you how to do polyamory.
That's it always confused me when like people who left like Kate Kelly stayed with the whole ordained women thing for like a long time after she left. And I'm like, but you don't believe in the priesthood. I don't
you
understand.
wanna-
It's
wait,
just
wait a
like
second, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. I
if
got
a bunch of like nerds got together and were like, "Hey, we're Jedi. We're literal Jedi, and we have the Force. Women can't wield the Force." And they were like, "Do you think we should? Do you think we should give women the Force?" I'd be like, I guess. And if they're like, "We're not gonna do it," I'm like, "Okay, I don't fucking care, man." And if a bunch of women were like, "Don't you care about our cause? We want the Force." Well, the Force isn't real. All right, so oh well.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of that like, yeah, how do you adjudicate people's other people's religious dilemmas, interreligious dilemmas?
Well, I thought I had a clip, but somebody was just saying right now, it was just another one of a million times that say, how does it feel, women, to know that deacons have more power in the church than
But they
I was just
fucking
kidding.
don't.
That's the point. Is like to believe that, the only way you can believe that is if you continue to believe the priesthood is real.
Yeah, like so because
But
like
even if
what
you
can
believe that the
deacons do?
priesthood is real, even if you believe the priesthood is real, and like a deacon, like a 12-year-old boy walks up to a woman and like tells her to do something, what do you think she's gonna do? She gonna, well, I
What?
guess I have to do it because he has the priesthood, he has power over me.
What are a deacon's powers? It's to pass the sacrament. It's to wear an awkwardly too big tie and pass the sacrament.
Yeah, a deacon's power is to pass the sacrament and feel guilty about jerking off.
Well, no, what's crazy is because they changed the rule now to where like, because it used to be you had to be 12. Now it's the calendar year in which you turn 12. So I've got a buddy
Oh,
whose
really?
kid turned like his birthday is like in November or something like that. And so like he was passing the sacrament. He's just a little 11-year-old tyke. And that blew my mind.
That's weird.
Yeah, no, that I guess
I
so,
have found the clip. Here it is. Go ahead. It's not a
right.
clip. It's just a here it is. Do you guys even think about how 12-year-old and it's with the Barbie too on top of stuff? Super awesome. Do you guys ever think about how 12-year-old boys have more power in the Mormon church than Sherry Dew has? On what planet? That's only true if you continue to believe the priesthood. And so, like to me, it's always like you guys are basically announcing you still believe in the priesthood, and we'll get into that more. Like with Delin freaking out that they're not excommunicating more people. Like, why do you care who they excommunicate or not, Delin? Like, if you're against the Mormon church, wouldn't you want them to keep hold of their raggedy people to keep making fools of them? You know, like what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going on the full-on fatphobe train, and I'm going to say you should excommunicate people if they get too fat.
Yeah, I saw some people putting up their versions of Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, and there was kind of some funny ones in there. But I have one. Well, I have two, and I don't think people would agree with me on them. But I don't think adults should eat cereal. That's one of them. Stop it. Adults,
I don't think kids should eat cereal. It's fucking candy.
That's goy slop. That's slop. It's candy. It's goop, and you can't eat it and not look like a ridiculous person.
I would rather adults eat cereal than kids.
Yeah, and then don't clean your fingers by sucking on them. Stop it.
Oh, sick.
Lizzo's
you mean like when you're
Lizzo's not good?
Any adult who does it. I mean, I guess a kid could do it, but
are you talking about like when they're like
sucking their fingers to clean their hands?
Yeah, I do not like greasy fingers. Like I eat popcorn with chopsticks. No, and seriously, because like Cheetos, like those flaming Cheetos, you know, like and they stain your fingers. Chopsticks.
Oh, I go crazy with it. You know,
it is annoying. I just don't eat Cheetos.
No, like because like if I am eating something with my hands, I always have like one hand that stays completely grease free. Like it's
yeah.
And because I don't know, like since I was a kid, because like I mean, I think everybody's old enough to remember like going over to your friend's house to play whatever the current version of Nintendo was. And like their buttons were all sticky and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's because like, they had a little, 9-year-old brother that would just munch Doritos and play the video game.
That's how I
hate that.
That's how I teach people contamination control in like our radiation safety. Is that, you're like, okay, we're in a contaminated area. You got a clean hand, you got a dirty hand. This one's got Cheeto dust all over it, and this one's clean. Do your clean stuff with this hand, do your dirty stuff with this hand.
That's a good analogy, is Cheeto dust.
Yeah.
You fleshed out You fleshed out my Jordan Peterson rule into an entire chapter. You guys just did it.
You gonna write 12 more rules?
Yeah, I can just pump them out. You guys can pump out the chapter, and we get somebody to draw a picture of it. Although AI can do that nowadays.
Chapter 3 is eat greasy things with chopsticks.
Pet dogs and cats, not just cats. Boom, book.
Do you think that Bill Reel is also having AI write his morals?
Oh, we got more of that. I haven't watched them yet. I've been saving it for tonight. Yeah. Were they good or were they bad?
So the second one was all right. It feels like
you're giving an honest, like, all right.
Well, when I say all right, I mean like relatively. It's cheesy and dumb, but like the second one was hard work and perseverance pays off.
This is the Bill Reel children's creepy children's hour.
The first one he released was be nice, and that's it. Like that's really all it was. Bill Reel has no respect for storytelling because his the morals that he teaches are either like do drugs, be gay, or it's just overtly slapping a kid in the face with it like he's an idiot. And it's never like it never shows you what goes wrong with not like this is why you should obey this moral. No, it's just like there was a new hedgehog in town and the turtle was nice to the hedgehog because being nice is good. Be nice.
Man,
how are you teaching kids? I remember Aesop's fables on this tape because they stuck with me. The tortoise and the hare. That's a big deal. Being consistent is more important than being quick and sporadic. Like that's an important thing. Be content with what you have. There's all of these lessons I remember growing up because shit went wrong a little bit for the characters that were in the story. I don't know.
Speaking of which, I recently reread The Wind in the Willows. And did anybody ever notice that there's like a whole chapter about worshiping the pagan god Pan in the middle of there? And like getting mesmerized by him and falling like asleep to this horned god in the middle of it.
I don't think that was in the cartoon adaptation, was it? I
don't think they put that one in there, no.
I don't think that was in there because I never read the book. Now I want to.
Chapter 7. Look it up.
Well, no, this is the thing that, like, I mean, because in general, people have said for a long time that children's entertainment is totally gutless now. Because, like, you look at like Roald Dahl and like Goonies, Goonies and Never-Ending Story. The fucking horse dies. Bambi, like going all the way back, like Hansel and Gretel, evil witch wants to eat children.
They're redoing Bambi.
Here's Chris's.
I actually think they're gay and lame.
No, make it gay.
Make it gay and lame.
There was seriously. I'm pretty sure they're making the Bambi mom scene less traumatic.
No,
like, what the fuck are you talking? That's how I was introduced to death.
No,
and it's a thing you have to go through as a kid.
Use your ultra realistic animation to show bits of brain matter and skull coming out of the other side of your head. Show kids how this works.
Here's my controversial take. I don't know if I brought this up here before, but I might offend some people. We might turn some people off. They're not going to listen ever again. Artak was a pussy. The horse in Neverending Story. Go rewatch it as an adult. You watched it as like a little kid. Go watch it as an adult. That horse, they start their trip. They eat breakfast. He sinks down the hole of sadness.
Yeah,
like that's how fast that happens. He did not make it anywhere on that journey. Like think of like Sam and Frodo, Mr. Frodo. They didn't. I mean, he didn't even get the second breakfast. He just went right down the swamp of sadness. I mean, I felt bad because it was a horse and I love animals and all that stuff. But what a pussy that horse was. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched that movie all the way through.
Oh, that's really good. I mean, that one's all sorts of.
I think it's on some kind of Streamovision because I watched it.
That one, so I used to like use that one as a metaphor of like what the whole critical theory movement stuff and all that was. I called it the nothing and all that stuff, which comes from that movie. And it really is actually talking about that stuff, like the nothing versus story. What that the never-ending story is the continued narrative of people and civilization, and the nothing is the thing that comes along to obliterate it all. And
that's a good. There's an early episode of this show with you and Kevin, and you guys talked about that. And that's a good one. Because I wasn't on that, and I listened to that, and it made me go back and rewatch the show.
Yeah, but did you know Barbie was better?
What?
Sunstone podcast. I just listened to this and wanted to beat my head against the wall. This guy watched it 5 times to learn
The
how
Barbie
the
movie rewrites the faith crisis script. God, what's funny is because like you'd think that people would be saving every little bit of this shit for graduate school, and like they're here just blasting it out, wasting these.
What I'm telling you, I've told people 1,000 times, like social justice graduate school is not easy anymore. And the reason it's not easy is finding something that doesn't already have 20 papers on it. That's what's hard. Like it's not like, of course, every single one of the papers are already.
That's what I'm saying. It's weird that like
all of them have already been written. I guarantee Barbie's already like got 4. I guarantee there's already Barbie all over academic journals already.
My doctrine discourse is on how Caillou is actually an angsty feminist sex repressed anthem.
Look at
Caillou's a whiny bitch, so it's probably true.
Look at this one. James Lee just said, I'm jumping around here because we got to go back to some of those things. But given my experiences in recent events, I'm now kind of curious about what if it would be possible to get an academic paper published that's essentially a rewrite of Mein Kampf that just replaces the German with Palestinian and it leaves the Jew part and peer reviewers in the humanities would potentially approve.
Didn't he essentially
I think so.
prove that was true anyway?
Well, the other one,
he did it with feminism, right?
But he changed the oppressed, the oppressor, and the Jew.
Yeah, I guess with Palestine, you wouldn't even have to change Jew.
This time you leave the Jew in. You leave the Jew in, and you trade. So you swap the other thing, is what you're saying.
And they would be fine with it. Like earlier, I don't know, sometime earlier this week, a friend of mine who's a younger person, she's gonna take care of my cat while I'm away, and she was here acclimatizing, getting the cat used to weird people, and she brought it up, and she asked me, she said, I want to ask you this because I know you know things about stuff, and she brought Israel Palestine, and then and also it was like her, like she acknowledged like she basically gets her news from NPR, and like we had this little bit of a moment, like 'cause she was drunk too, but where I was like trying to tell him like, if you only listen to NPR, then what you think you know about this is wrong. And like you could tell it was a faith crisis moment for her. It's just like talking to any Mormon or Catholic or flat earther and like starting to point out the basic shit. And like, and it's just kind of amazing because like, because like she's not religious, she doesn't believe in any God or church or any of that shit. She thinks that's all dumb, and she's an enlightened modern person. But she admits she gets all her news from NPR, and her ideas about Israel Palestine it's analogous to young Earth creationists, Baptists' ideas about geology and evolution. Like what they know about those topics is what she knows about Israel and Palestine. It's really amazing.
See, Charles Wagner did a fast marriage timeline. Jane Hobbs, which is probably I know the picture. That's Sinatra, right?
Yeah, it's
Sinatra.
Sinatra.
Switching. Well, my life just got easier. Let's see, Heineken tonight. Time for porch time church. But we are the true church. We're not like those false ones.
Yeah.
Venezuela, America, here we come. Yeah. Esmeralda. My favorite pronunciation.
Imagine like
Puerto Rico. How does Trump?
How far back are you going? Puerto Rico. I don't know. How do you do Trump? See, I turned into John Wayne. Puerto Rico. I can't do a Trump. Who's drinking Heineken? I didn't see that.
He probably is. That's what he's saying.
No, but who was that? I didn't see that.
That's a what is he guy's name? Jane something like, which is a Sinatra guy.
The always changing names guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's keeping him off his tail, man. They won't catch him.
Heineken is perfect here.
Yeah. Hold on a second here. I got some trick-or-treating kids who dressed up as Trump. It was pretty good. Talk amongst yourselves.
Did you see the one of the guy that dressed up as Biden and all of his friends dressed up as lawyers, and he was like stumbling up the stairs?
Yeah. Speaking of which, did you see Gavin Newsom took another tumble today? Man, that guy has tumbled more in the past week than Biden has his entire.
I didn't know there was a Gavin Newsom tumbling situation.
You didn't see him crash with a Chinese kid?
I haven't heard about that at all.
Oh my goodness! Because I sent you guys the Chinese kid one, but then
Oh,
he
I
just took
haven't watched
another.
lots of times I'm at work and I don't ever get back to things.
Yeah, the stuff gets buried pretty quick. But check this kid out. Hold on.
Bloop.
You want this back?
Are you Donald Trump?
Yes, I am. You know. And I'm Hillary Clinton. Shut up. Church to the red.
Are you Donald Trump?
Yes, and I'm Hillary Clinton. Shut
Oh my
up.
god.
You
Those
want
kids win Halloween.
so church to the red.
That's
That's
awesome.
That it was the best costume.
That was pretty awesome. Did you ever see Shane Gillis do Donald Trump?
Yeah, he does it pretty good.
He does. You know who does a really good Trump? Jamie Foxx.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. It's weird to watch.
I want to hear Jamie Foxx Donald Trump. That sounds really
Yeah,
interesting.
see if you can dig it up because I've never seen. I wouldn't know where to look. But you know who I don't think does a good Trump, and he does it too much.
Alec Baldwin.
Well, there's yeah,
That's
you
the
would.
obvious one.
You beat me there. But I was gonna say Crowder. I don't think Crowder's Trump's very good.
Oh,
Crowder's
Crowder is not-
comedy isn't very good. He's not a funny
Crowder's
guy.
not very good. Yeah, like Crowder has some kind of broadcasting talent. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but he's not good at anything.
Oh man, I thought I had the thing pulled up of Gavin Newsom taking a big old tumble. Oh man. Oh, there's a lot of stuff. I'm glad I'm remembering some of this though. I've never heard Jamie Foxx do it though.
Yeah, I sent it in the
That's
In
what
the-
that was.
StreamYard chat.
Here it is. I can't play because it's got music to it. But,
This is Gavin Newsom.
This is Gavin Newsom.
Woo! Where was that?
Just coming down a plane right there.
Like that had to be ice or something.
It's got music going on it. Hold on.
The climate god did that to him for his carbon footprint.
Oh,
So you guys didn't see him on the Chinese basketball
that's
court?
gotta
either?
be that's
No,
gotta be ice.
That's worse than Biden's right there.
That is. That hurt. That's gonna have ouchies on his coccyx.
Let me see here. Man. Okay, here it is. Here he is on the basketball court. Watch this one. This is both this week. Oh, come on, thing, play.
This is him trying to play basketball. And he wiped out the Chinese kid.
In 1 week,
What?
he's got more complete
Yeah, wait.
crashes than
And
Biden
he
does.
insults
And then he
the
just starts
child.
slapping the kid.
He's
He
like,
spits
well,
on
if
his
I
butt.
I just look stupid if I hump him, it'll look better.
How the hell did this not?
Why
does
did he try to like bowl over the kid playing basketball?
It tells me a lot about the nature of the media that wasn't like. So, like for example,
Oh yeah, Trump walked daintily one time, and that was all over the news forever.
If that was classical era Jon Stewart Daily Show, they would get acres of material out of that.
Oh yeah.
It would, but like nowadays they wouldn't like just. They
And
wouldn't
Chevy
acknowledge
Chase's
that-
whole career started off of like flopping like Ford for that sort of stuff. You know, because he'd do pratfalls impersonating Gerald Ford at the time. Yeah, this one, that's 2 in 1 week that are worse than any of Biden's crashes ever. It's so funny. Biden like barely tripped up the stairs a couple times.
I don't know. He tripped like 8 times in that one journey up the stairs. It was pretty great.
He's the first
But he's-
person American to fall up the stairs.
He's also like 80, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, no, like oh, man, that's just one of those things that I just hate about politics, where it's so obvious and so upfront, and has been a topic for at least the last 20, 30 years. Is he's too old, and like what side is saying that? It doesn't matter. Just take your pick, time and place. What's politically expedient, and you watch both sides just flip flop back and forth between like, well, you're just an ageist, and you're too
Yes.
old. Well, you're
Okay.
just an ageist.
Oh, yes, I am. Okay, I discriminate based on
Yeah.
age. Like, absolutely, not all discrimination is bad discrimination. You
You know,
have
like,
to.
it's like
You want our military? Like, maybe you should be kicked out of the Navy SEALs by the time you're 65 too. You know, maybe we
you're-
shouldn't accept people who are in a wheelchair to be on the front lines.
oh, then
Maybe
here's
if your mind isn't right, you shouldn't be able to be the president.
Here's your drunken bar talk bet, though. This is your trolley car situation. What if the presidential candidate is Thomas Sowell,
Oh man,
93, who right now is a clearer thinker than anybody we've had.
Hey,
for
I
president.
mean, sure, we don't have we don't
It's
have
like,
the
what if
age
you had to
limit, so
choose
I'd vote
between
for him.
Biden again or 80-year-old Biden or 93-year-old Thomas Sowell? Would you take the
I'd
Thomas?
take Thomas
Oh,
Sowell
I'd
in
take
a
Thomas
lickety
Sowell, yeah.
split.
I guess.
I
Well,
don't-
that's obvious.
I don't think he's ever going to lose his mind. I think he's gonna die of clear mind.
Yeah, no, he just
He's
seems to
still
have that
sharp as
thing.
hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what are the younger candidates? What do they even look like?
Gavin
AOC
Newsom.
got? What are young Republicans like? They're dope.
I mean,
you got
there's Ramaswamy,
Vivek, man. Vivek was good, but all of them are kind of like beating the
But
word.
wait, my understanding is that DeSantis is a racist who wants queer kids to kill themselves. Did I get
That's
that
what Dan
information?
McClellan was just saying. But let's look at this
Oh.
thing from Dan McClellan first. Okay.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm
God.
bouncing around all over. But do you guys have your? I hate to poison the well here, but and
I
this is one of those
only
things
got
we're
to
not-
see half of this. How's it work? But this
I didn't
this
watch
does
this.
not look legitimate.
And of course, they're immediately calling out that, this guy, legislators are actively trying to dismantle programs like Ron DeSantis that encourage us to think and act critically in regards to diversity and inclusion. So I'm gonna put myself on a limb because I've watched very, very many. I don't know if anybody knows Matt Christiansen. Him and Tim Pool are gonna be together on a channel now, that Tenet channel that they're starting. This is 4 years ago. This is a 5 hour and 40-minute long hoax hate compilation. He's been doing them every week since then too. Every single week. I mean, there are so many hate hoaxes like this. You would not believe. He could just go forever on them. But anyway, this is what those ones usually kind of look like here. So
Lena Dunham.
I never ask you guys to share my videos, but
Except for
shut
sometimes.
up.
asking that you share this video. And I'm hoping that it reaches people in Bountiful, Utah, those who live in the Bountiful High School area.
That area.
Okay, wait, pause it. Hang on.
Who
If
That-
follows my
That
social-
haven of hatred.
Did you?
Bigotry.
I can't remember his name, but there was an influencer who claimed that his girlfriend died.
yeah.
Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
And I just watched his video the other day where she ended up. It was bullshit. She was still alive.
She lived.
No,
Yeah.
she didn't even. She was never in danger. She released a video later. It's like, I don't know what he's talking about. He's crazy.
Yeah,
We're
it's
broke up
complete
now.
BS.
But no, he released that video after she died about he's doing another challenge or whatever, and he's like, I am just really torn up about her dying. You guys know that I haven't gotten over it yet, and it was her dream for the channel to hit 1 million subscribers. So if you could hit that like and subscribe, that's just the vibe I'm getting from
No,
this.
you did it. But
I never ask you guys to share my videos, but do
This
the right
stuff-
thing.
I'm telling you, go listen to all the ones that Matt Christiansen's accumulated up. They all sound like this. They all sound the same. There's so many of them where somebody went and the person who supposedly is making the claim is the one who went and wrote the stuff on the thing. I'm not talking 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. It is way more common that this is what happened. Not just way more common.
It's
It's
hard to
almost
find-
100% that the person nowadays where you get all this clout and internet fame for this thing happening, it's almost at 100% that these things are.
It's hard to find the legitimately unambiguous anti-gay hate crime, anti-LGBTQ whatever hate crime.
And especially ones as dumb as this.
My wife long.
Well, especially because for
I-
up until last year, literally up until last year, I would always say there hasn't been a Matthew Shepard since Matthew Shepard, and I found out, oh wait, Matthew Shepard wasn't a Matthew Shepard.
Yeah,
Matthew Shepard was a meth deal.
They say they got a supply and demand problem with this stuff, and so you got. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why you have all these endless hate hoaxers.
Has a friend who had a son pass away not long ago. He took his own life. It's extremely hard for her and her family, and it is still hard. We came to you guys for donations. Y'all came through, and we were able to ease her burden a little bit in that time of grief. Well, she has a son who still attends Bountiful High School and drives a Jeep, and they had to wake up to this morning. The C word multiple times, bitch ass, and also this right here, the N word. And I guarantee those who involved are very, very white. And to top it off,
Guarantee.
on the driver's side door, they wrote the name of his dead brother who had passed away from taking his own life. So
I guarantee that the
Oh,
people who
hey.
did this are white too, because it was probably you guys.
It's the kid who was starting to lose, like he got attention and all that stuff for it and that sort of deal. His mom was getting money, all that sorts of stuff. And the kid thinks, oh, I can go perpetuate this thing and keep the cash coming in. I guarantee you that's what it is almost every single time.
Yeah, it's just a little too. I don't know. Yeah.
I put Vegas money down on it right here. I'm putting my reputation on the line. Saying, well, it also kind of demands that people go and investigate it, because some of those other things will happen at a college or something. We'll actually go investigate it, but really, like right there, I mean, there's no real crime right there unless there's some sort of hate thing. Like maybe they're not going to investigate it hard and figure it out. But every single time it comes out that it's the kid themselves that wrote it.
Yeah, like if the neighbors across the street have cameras that, point across the street and we can see what happened. But yeah, this is just too weird. Like in Bountiful.
But they figured out in other ways. They figured out from like handwriting things. They figured out from purchases, like who went and purchased the marker.
Oh yeah,
like they have a lot of if they care to do it, because there was one of them. Like one of the ones that happened was that real famous one where supposedly that girl got kicked out of college for she was in her car at a campus. And they said supposedly she did something like pulling up and driving to this girl at the campus, and she said something to him. All turned out to be completely fake, and the girl got kicked out of college for it. But they still were able to figure out that no, that's not what happened, and the girl admitted to it. Let's see, I answered this one. Do so much better, Bountiful. And I said, at not jumping to conclusions or group demonization before investigation like ostensible adults, Bountiful.
Yeah.
But I was gonna go to this because Dan McKeon was worried about this. Here, you called it. Here is Utah State Senator John for Utah retweeting the argument that right-wing authoritarians must either wrestle institutional power away from the people and the experts, from the people and the experts. Oh gosh, he's just such a Gnostic, or they must resort to violence.
And it's also like iron law vocal projection right there, Dan. Yeah. Like every fucking time, it's amazing. You're the guy that's on the side of violence.
They don't answer me because like they were talking about they put out some posts that they said, look at all the right-wing people. They had a survey, and all these right-wing people said, would you use violence to defend the United States of America? That was the question. And these guys were freaking out about it. Like, look at all these people who said they'd use violence to defend America.
What?
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And then I said, okay, now change the question to decolonize America and see what the different violent things are on there. If you guys are trying to point to violence.
It's funny because it makes me think of watching like the entirety of BreadTube argue self-defense. Yeah. They always argue there's this just axiom they live by that obviously defensive property does not permit lethal force, right? So if somebody breaks into your house to take your TV, they're like, oh, is their life worth less to you than your TV?
Yeah. That's what they argue for. That stuff gets so crazy, but I mean, Actual Justice Warriors channel is the best with all that stuff, and he's been getting algorithmically depopularized big time lately. He doesn't even pop up in my threads anymore. I've noticed.
What happened to Exolancic?
She probably got her channel blocked again. She has to make a new channel every I don't know, couple months or so.
What's on there that is against the rules other than against
talking against trans?
The Longhouse.
I mean,
it's not against the rules. It's against the Longhouse rules.
I think there's stuff against the rules that you can't say stuff.
You're not supposed to.
That's why Benjamin's Boys lost his channel for 2 weeks.
She doesn't play the game. You know, like a lot of people sort of play the game and like, oh, I'll call you by the gender that you want me to, even though I disagree with all things trans, whatever. But she always just, even when she's talking about like Jazz Jennings or Blair White, it's he.
Yeah. This we had the executive order from Biden about AI. Elon Musk.
That'll fix it.
I declare that AI poses a potentially catastrophic risk to humankind. It shows China, England, all that, Europe. He says, and I cannot wait to develop it first. down at the bottom. It's Elon Musk posted on it. Do you see Elon Musk on Joe Rogan? Elon Musk on.
Oh yeah, I saw a little bit of it.
Yeah, he just had kind of those clips of talking about how Twitter was just completely an arm of the government, 100%.
It
Elon
shocks
Musk
me that
is
people
good.
don't know that.
Yeah, very, very true. Speaking of transy stuff, here's J.K. Rowling talking about Vice News doing a whole expose here on explaining to people that if neo-Nazis show up at an event for you, that they don't necessarily ruin the meaning of your other thing just because they're there with you. And this is Vice News that for years we're spazzing out. I mean, J.K. Rowling's pointing out that, hang on, when far-right groups eager for publicity or violence agitate near a women's rally, that makes all women sticking up for their rights fascists. However, when the Nazis join a protest you agree with, they're opportunists who mustn't be allowed to besmirch a righteous cause.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, everything. That's one of the things that's I like about this moment is like all the contradictions are getting exposed everywhere. What's this, Jared? Oh, this is Axel Nasik.
Oh, I found her Odyssey channel, and so I was just sending that for future
What
reference.
is an Odyssey?
TT Axel Nasik. If you want like a good channel on Odyssey, we're on Odyssey. I think we auto upload to Odyssey. I should look it up for it.
Yeah, it's
I
just-
just barely heard about Odyssey.
It's YouTube basically.
Odyssey and Rumble.
It doesn't kick you out for calling men.
But how has it not been completely overtaken and turned into a nightmare?
It will.
'Cause it's not popular yet. All they have to do is become popular, and that's what it takes.
Oh no, because like I mean, I know that there's this like I don't know. There's got to be somebody's got to name a law about it, but like a public forum can only get so big before you have to curtail free speech to prevent it from just descending into porn and
Not if you
gore.
call it the Longhouse and you declare to everybody that you're going to be a den mother who doesn't allow any naughty talk.
That's right. No naughtiness. Huh.
Let's see what Vice News said here. Neo-Nazis are showing up at pro-Palestine protests in an attempt to push anti-Jewish conspiracy theories and tropes into the mainstream.
Yeah. Wouldn't want that, would we, Vice?
Here's what you need to know about them. The presence of these groups like the White Nationalists and Anti-Semitic National Justice Party at protests shouldn't be seen as an indication that there is some ideological tension between them and the wider pro-Palestinian movement.
Oh, spell it out for us, Vice.
Vice suddenly trying to be nuanced with this whole. Well, they're just trying to make us look bad, right?
Like this is
why would neo-Nazis be anti-Israel?
This
They're
is
full nuance
hatchling
though
behavior
now.
from Vice. Like Vice is doing hatchling here in a thread.
Yeah.
Twitter thread.
Somebody else keep reading because my eyes are going weird on.
I mean, maximize it.
I was right there.
Neo-Nazis have used growing anger. Oh, what kind of people would use anger against the Israeli government as an opportunity to spew anti-Semitic and anti-immigrant conspiracy theories, launder them into the mainstream and drive recruitment? It's the iron law of role projection. Fringe extremist groups are opportunistic and will leap at any chance to insert themselves into popular movements. In 2020, the anti-government boogaloos, including white supremacists, tried and failed to latch on to Black Lives Matter by claiming they shared similar goals. They're not pro-Palestine. They just hate Jews, and they see this moment as an opportunity to get attention, said one extremism expert.
Extremism experts. I'll go against the experts.
Where it's like, yeah, like I want to know, like, is that what he puts on his like job? You know,
Yes.
like,
Yes. They brazenly do that
Extremism
nowadays. Yes.
9 out of 10 of them probably have to commit a hate crime against anyone that is at the pro-Palestine movement. The experts agree. 4 out of 5 white supremacists would probably commit violence. It's so stupid. Meanwhile, hate crimes targeting Jews, Muslims, and Arabs, which were already disturbingly high prior to the conflict, no, they weren't, have since soared to an alarming degree around the world. What a weird way to put that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Everything's
God.
weird, man. Everything's weird.
Well, luckily we
Jews,
have it.
Muslims, and Arabs. Like, well, they're just a thing. It's kind of like, I think about like, the Asians and Pacific Islanders. So they're just a thing now. But like,
Luckily, there's that immortal Norm Macdonald joke where he's just talking about his friend who said, "Man, I really hope that the Muslims don't nuke anybody because then people might not like Muslims."
People were pointing out that was basically Kamala Harris's speech.
No, it basically was, because now our first reaction, like the White House first thing when like a Muslim extremist group torches a bunch of fucking babies, is to be like, we need to create a task force to root out Islamophobia. We don't want to be afraid of the people who did this.
It's so dumb. Let me show you this. UK Hamas supporters are now planning a 1 million-man march on Remembrance Day. The World War II Day is now there for
Hamas
marching against the Jews.
You know what? I've got to say, I think the first time this stuff hit me was very, very, very young, because when 9/11 happened, I was 11 years old. 10 years old. I just turned 10 years old. And man, I remember shortly after that, those people trying to build a mosque on Ground Zero. And me just being like, wait, why? I'm like 12 years old thinking about like, okay, but why? Like, because we shouldn't hate Muslims just because a few Muslims did bad things. I was like, I get that. But why are we building a mosque? Isn't that a little insensitive?
That whole thing got stupid because, like, you know, it was an old department store being repurposed as an Islamic center, which in principle would have had like a prayer area in it. But like, I don't know. We've told the story before about when Chris shamed the Christian talk show host into praying for Obama. Because earlier before that, because like I called that guy during the Ground Zero mosques, they were on the show. I called in and because they were talking about that, because their whole thing was the general like conservative line was like, we're not anti-religion. We believe in the freedom of religion. We're just saying that's too close. That's too close. That's too close. So I called him up and I just asked him like, all right, so it's too close. What's the distance that's okay? Give me a number. Is it 500 yards? Is it 3 kilometers? Like, where is not too close? And like, obviously he blew me off and gave me, you know, fuck off answer. Because, you know, that's one of those examples when they say that where it's like, well, you don't mean that. Like, what you really mean is you don't like it anywhere because you're not willing to say.
Yeah, part of the problem is like we don't know what the final answer really truly is now between Israel and Palestine or Gaza, because Israel is now pissed off enough that they're not just settling for like, okay, go back to not killing each other. Like they're both sides of it now. Like,
well, no, this is Israel.
It makes me think of when my kids do that. Like the younger kid has realized, August, he's 2, Lucas is 5. August has realized that he can pretend to be like, he can do something really shitty to Lucas, and then he can run away if we're not watching. He can run away from Lucas crying, jump into our arms, and then be like, eh! And Lucas is like, what the hell, man? You took that toy from me. But August is a smart little bastard.
Yeah.
It feels like Hamas is like, I get it. I want peace and stuff like that, but you don't get to do a terrorist attack and then be like, peace now. Let's do peace now. Like,
yeah.
Well, Jane Hobbs there says, I refuse to pick a side. I hate both sides. I sort of sense that we shared this thing earlier. Number of people who can't figure out that these are both enemies is really quite remarkable. You're not an orc shield if you point out you need to get rid of Worm Tongue. Let's see here. Matt, and I think he was actually kind of talking about that if you're looking at Tolkien. But MAGA and Christian nationalism is our real threat, though. You know? I don't know if you guys knew that. Like, why are we even talking about any of that?
We gotta hit that again. We gotta hit that again.
This is one of those.
Every time somebody does a bad thing, they got to remind us that white people exist and are the real bad thing.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things where it's like, even in the stupidest corners of conservative commentary, nobody's talking about Hamas is a threat to America.
Yeah.
No, Hamas is a threat to Israel. duh. Like nobody's like, what are they talking about? It's one of those things where it's like, just reminds me of like, Carden talking about all those archaeologists who think that the Mayans were too stupid to invent steel. It's like, who are you arguing with? But like, this is the same thing. Nobody's saying Hamas is a threat to America. Don't be stupid.
Well,
But
there's people talking about
there's
they're
preaching that needs to be
planning on
done.
trying to deport them all over here, and there's supposedly some paper documents that claim that got leaked out of Israel, but who knows if that would ever come to pass for real. But they'd still just be mad at Israel. So, they'd be bombing Israel from Alabama or something like that. Like, how do we get a rocket? We got $40 million from the U.S., $40 billion. They just gave $14 billion to Israel, by the way, like a couple hours ago. But if they deport all the Gazans here, they'll give them $14 billion, and then they can really like make rockets that go all the way to Israel from Alabama. Troy and Jane Hobbs like chopsticks. I don't like chopsticks. I'm terrible at chopsticks. I like how the title of podcasting admits that their faith crises are scripted nonsense. I don't know. Haven't listened to the episode though. What was that one referring to from Christopher? Bottom one down on number 2. I listened to that podcast. It wasn't that bad. Which one was the one on the Barbie thing? You guys got to watch Donnie Darko. So cathartic. I've never seen Donnie Darko. Fucking Artax. Oh yeah, we're back there. Fern Goalie. The horse sucks. On Maple Lake Mountain. I'm glad you see it my way. Such a great story. We can LARP ourselves into being able to fly on big dog dragons. That if you really watch it again though too, there's like something creepy about that dog dragon, man. There's some creeping going on with the kids.
Weird.
Let's see. Maybe some folks should stay in the church. Which podcast is that?
Oh, for
is
sure.
that the one?
Anytime I hear somebody talking about, like, there was an ex-Mormon post recently where this woman was like, "Hey, my husband and I are thinking about trying out polyamory. I'm worried about losing because we have a really good marriage. We love each other. We have kids." And my first reaction that is always just like, "Oh, just fucking go back to church, all right?"
Yeah. What's a Kailulu? What's that one?
Oh, it's Caillou.
Oh, that's the name of that's how it's spelled?
That's how it's spelled.
I didn't even know that.
I think it was from Canada, so it's probably a stupid French name.
Wow.
Fuck Frenchies.
I didn't know that's how it's spelled. Seriously, I got to keep them off my tail. Wait a minute, Chris is the one mighty and strong. Well, now the Visions of Glory book all makes sense. Yeah, you figured it out. I am the one mighty and strong. I am the Davidic, whatever. But I guess my name had to be David to do that, so I guess I can't be. Or either you have like a middle name David or something like that. Any Davids out there? We need to make you our Davidic. So, do you guys even know what's going on with that?
No,
David.
Oh, we're talking out our ass, and I forget that you guys don't keep up on your Delin. Like you're not as good. Not as good as me at being a future thinking progressive person.
This is why I don't thrive. You're thriving. I'm not thriving.
I am thriving. That's how I'm getting mighty and strong through Delin. Delin says he doesn't go making crazy cultists, and that's how I'm the Delinite. I am the Delinite, mighty and strong. I am the one who listens to Delin so much that I know that I can make a group of people who will bomb the Capitol. Oops, did I say that? Anyway. There was a kid, all the stuff we talked about last week, the whatchamacallit, the Visions of Glory stuff. I guess inside of that Avow group and all that stuff, they believe in this Isaiah prediction of the one mighty and strong who's going to be a Davidic servant. And some family kidnapped their teenage kid. The uncle kidnapped the teenage kid and took him up to Alaska in the winter because they think that kid is to be the Davidic servant. And he's kidnapped and taken up there. And I think he's still missing right now.
Oh, shit.
And Quick covered it and Delane covered it. And that's actually what the podcast is about. But I'm going to, in my own way, once again, poke fun at Delane when there's a whole other bigger, interesting subject going on. But yeah, that's what the whole podcast here is about.
People got so mad at me for making that TikTok with Natasha Helfer Parker because they're like, they're talking about human suffering and you just point out how dumb and woke she is. I was like, Yeah.
Yeah, she sucks, man. So here it is right here. Another Mormon prepper disaster. And this is the kid who's kidnapped right now because he is a Davidic servant. Although if you ask me, like, listen to this. Like, look at Lynn, like
Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Talking about French Canadians.
Yeah. But they're Arizonans. It's Lori Vallow area and the Avow people and all that stuff again. But look at how Delin's kind of like giddy about all this. Like not that I wouldn't be all giddy, but like he's the one who's supposed to act like he's got like the big old boner for saving.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mormon Stories podcast. I am one of your hosts for today, John Delin.
You know how we were looking at the face of the guy whose wife announced that she's attracted to other people, not him, and you can just see it. Well, watch Delin's face anytime another 5-alarm fire goes off, and tell me that he's not just as giddy as a little schoolgirl. Like that's all.
It is October 30th, 2023.
We're talking about a
before Halloween.
Who might
I don't know if that's appropriate or not. But today we are here to discuss a story that broke last week.
Anyway, that's the whole story with that. They made 3 hours of it. I don't know if there's anything else going on with that. All you can do is wait to find the kid, and they talked about like their family members who like put out a note saying that we got to help us find this guy. They took this kid. We're worried that they're calling him a Davidic servant. They might tie him up and all that sort of stuff. And this is one of the tough things about it is that kid's not in the game. That kid's they think the kid, they kidnapped the kid because they got to inculcate to the kid that he's the Davidic servant. That kid's straight kidnapped.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he's not playing along. He's,
So he's just typical white Mormon.
He's just typical white Mormon.
How they all are, is they all end up in these prepper cults because of Trump.
That's his argument. Yeah, that's his argument.
He does look very privileged.
He said he went on a podcast, and it's not going to get released because on that podcast he blamed this whole entire thing on the Mormon Church proper, and it's the Mormon Church proper's fault. He came out and just said that. Like,
who?
Right out. Delin.
Oh.
He said he went on in this episode. Maybe I'll pull it up. I think I have the time written. Although, you know what? We completely missed. Did you know it was Trans Awareness Month? Did you know that happened?
Of course I did.
It's right now.
What do you think? Do you think I'm some kind of fucking bigot?
Well, I don't want us to forget about it and not be thinking about that while we're just laughing.
I'm starting to wonder if, like, because
teenage
how many months
white
do you
boys.
need?
Kidnap teenage white boys.
Speaking of morals of stories that really stuck with me. God, I bring this up like every week that the story of the kid who wishes it's Christmas every day, and then he finds out that it ruins the specialness of it. You know, that's when are the gays gonna figure this out? If every
After
fucking
they
week,
get the whole calendar, that's when.
Yeah, if every fucking week and day and month of the year is some type of gay
I just kind of thinking, like, what if, like, because maybe it feels like the queer calendar must be like the Muslim calendar, where it's like strictly lunar. So, like, Ramadan is, a year minus a couple of weeks every year. So it just feels a little weird because, like, Christmas is always the same time of year, whereas like, but over a decade, like Ramadan moves around, and it feels like the Trans Awareness Month is just like, again, already, all right. Because it's just like Ramadan, NPR runs a whole bunch of extra stories on Muslims and how to talk to a Muslim, and then during Trans Awareness, it's how to talk to a trans. It's all that wonderful teachy stuff that they do now.
Let me see. Okay, so I got a list of some of them. So the 19th of May is Agender Pride Day. The first full week after the 14th of February is Aromantic Spectrum Awareness Week. Asexual Awareness Week is the last week in October. Oh, that was we missed Asexual Awareness Week. Shit.
Dang it.
Bisexual Awareness Week.
Unaware.
Yeah, Bisexual Awareness Week is the week surrounding the 23rd of September, Day of Silence. Just says April. International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia, 17th of May. International Pronouns Day, third Wednesday in October. What
was the International Day Against Homophobia?
17th of May.
Oh.
Boo.
I was wondering, because I thought it was recently. So
wait a minute. I'm looking for LGBT dates, and it puts the 1st of December as World AIDS Day.
World AIDS Day.
Yeah.
1st of December. So
Yeah,
like
1st of
the very
December.
very first day after this month is already another recognition day.
Oh well, we already have. So the 20th of November is Transgender Day of Remembrance. Second week of November is Transgender Awareness Week.
Just Transmember Day of Day of Remembrance, because it makes it sound like a Veterans Day. It's like, oh,
I know, it's like remembering all of our fallen,
all the people we lost in the trans wars.
But now those days are marches for Palestine.
Did you fight in the trans wars, Grandpa? Yes, I was there.
And it's Tranpa to you.
Trampa.
Iden asks if Julie Rowe got excommunicated.
This didn't have a stupid transcript with it, you jerkheads. But I have some minutes marked down, but I didn't mark what was said in those minutes. So I have like 5 different minutes written down. We'll see what stupid stuff they say. If it was me writing down stuff that Lynn said, it probably has not much to do that's germane to the dumb subject here. It's me poking at Lynn being a goof. But that's what I typically write down. Let's see what I did.
Communicated. The answer is yes. Julie Rowe was excommunicated.
Oh,
Do we know about Christopher Peret's membership status, Lauren?
I cannot confirm or deny. I cannot say either way, but I've never heard.
Why is it? Why? Like, why is it a big deal to him who's in or who's not in?
Well, and here's the thing: I don't think he's realized this, but you're more likely to get excommunicated if you're higher profile.
No.
I don't know who that second guy was. I know who the first one was. Julie Rowe was huge. And she was saying a bunch of weird shit to like an enormous audience. So of course she's more likely to get, because I've said a lot of the anti-Mormon things that Dylan has said that got him excommunicated.
And these guys are probably on the chopping block now that they're getting more famous.
And I'm not as high profile as John Dylan. That's why I was never excommunicated. By the way, if I was excommunicated, I would have been like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I admitted to doing shrooms and showing everybody the secret handshakes. Of course you're going to kick me out.
Because I think a lot of them now are doing like what the mid-level violence thing. Where like, they're very careful. They're not going over the top and directly speaking out, They're doing this kind of baiting them, you can tell, because like the church is in a real bind, because like they can't just let these people go and do nothing. But if they X them, then it backfires. It Strysands the shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Tyler Glenn was never excommunicated.
Yeah, they'd be more careful about that.
Which I'm like, come on, church, have some balls.
I've got a solution for that. If I had the ear of the brethren, it's very simple. Don't excommunicate him for his weird stances about the church. Excommunicate him for the fucking music. that was the sin against humanity.
That was bad. Dude. I was
We've got to get into musical sins against humanity.
I was as angry against like the church as I had ever been when that came out, and even I was like, okay, this sucks. you rushed this. This is, if you were gonna do a Mad at the Church anthem, fuck, you should have spent some time on it, because like
we have an exact example of that this week. Like, if you hate postmodernism, maybe rethink the song that you're gonna put out. Like a little bit, like we'll get into that.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that's he had no chance. He's not meant to be funny, and it's Michaela's fault. I swear to God, she's telling him to do stupid shit. The Daily Wire is telling him to do stupid shit. The Daily Wire is like, hey, you want to watch Matt Welsh play Mario Kart? No, I want to watch him talk about trans shit. Okay, I don't.
Yeah. Just like you can say like the Tyler Glenn song was bad, I can say the Jordan Peterson song was bad. But we'll watch that later, I guess. Hold on. Let's see what happens.
She's recently been researching significantly an author by the name of Abraham Gileadi, who purports to
That's the dude who
understand the book of Isaiah.
Yeah.
My wife brought my daughter into this about 2.5 years ago, and they started having dreams, and they started sharing dreams, and both felt like they had the gift to interpret dreams. They brought my brother-in-law into this about 1.5 years ago, when he was going through a pretty significant crisis in his own marriage. and he just has taken it and run with it. But yes, my wife has been involved in these types of things in one way or another for many years. She's always been a church attending, a temple worthy member of our church, and served in callings. But on the side, she's had this hobby of researching the second coming and signs of the times and the end of the world.
Okay, so I'm going to admit that I did not remember that excerpt, that Brooke was recruited into this crazy millennialistic prepperism by Spring, his sister. For some reason, I always think the man is the bad guy. And I'm not saying Spring's bad.
For some reason, you always think the man is the bad guy.
In Lori Vallow's case, he was the one like dragging some other people into like.
That's not.
We got Jodie Hildebrandt. We got
Yeah, that's not very patriarchy of you, John Malone.
Maybe men and women are both humans and are equally shitty and equally good everywhere in all different ways.
But yeah, although, because the thing is, what you're forgetting is that women have no power.
Oh, yes.
If
they don't have the priesthood.
They literally have no power. A 12-year-old.
Yeah, what if a deacon had told her, "Hey, mom, quit doing this"? She'd be, fuck. Foiled.
A 12-year-old with a too big 28-year-old tie has more power than Sherry Do or Hidden True Crime Podcast lady.
Let's see here. Dan McQuillan.
Also, wait, there's something the guy said before that I thought was kind of funny, which was that it was a little weird that he's like, in addition to being in the church, she also researched the second coming, where it's like, wait a second, isn't that part of church? Like, what do you mean? Like on the side,
yeah, she was a Mormon, but she also believed in crazy shit like Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, that's part of church.
Yeah, that's just where I get kind of like scrambled in my head. It's like I don't know, like to you, John, why it matters if this is in or out of the church. It exists. If it has some tangential connection to it or not, it changes nothing about the world of it. So I don't know why. Well, I mean, that's what I'll pull up here is that he just kind of goes off on being upset that they're not excommunicating these people, because they went and excommunicated actual good people like them. They're actually good people.
But there's so many other people involved in that prepper movement, including Chad Daybell up until his arrest, as I understand it, including Avram Gileadi and others that have been and remain members in good standing. Again, the church probably got it right by excommunicating Avram Gileadi in 93, but by 96 he's rebaptized. There is complicity on the part of the Mormon church by allowing these prepper prophets, these prepper seers and revelators, frankly, to have so much influence, and their supporters and their followers to have so much influence that they're able to grow and spread these teachings and these doctrines throughout mainstream Mormonism, all throughout the church. And being someone who is more on the progressive side, we know, let's just say a Mormon that was in support of same-sex marriage, a Mormon that was in support of the church telling truthful history, a Mormon that was in support of having women
cutting off your kids' bowels.
Tell us about all your goodness, John.
Yeah, he just goes off, and multiple times he goes off on it. And then he says he got kicked off a podcast because he tried to blame all this on the main Mormon church too.
Apocalyptic commentary of the book of Isaiah. And my personal favorite, thinking of Lori and Chad, becoming kings and queens of the Gentiles. What do you think, Lauren?
Well, for my audience that is not as familiar.
It sounds like it's comedy, John. So if it's comedy, I guess a couple people went nuts with it and shot each other. They also did when they read Catcher in the Rye, goddammit.
There with Deseret Book. Deseret Book is the end-all, be-all. People will tell me all the time, look, I found this book. LDS Bookstore is selling Visions of Glory. And I'll say, that's really interesting, but it's still not, despite its name, the LDS-owned bookstore.
They also were selling Ibermex candy crap.
The end-all, be-all bookstore that is owned by the LDS Church is Deseret Book, and that's why this matters. This is the church's bookstore, and they are selling all of his books, and I find some very questionable concerning titles as well.
Did you find that questionable and concerning?
Yeah.
Are you
and
concerned
here's a
about
shot
the
of a
moral
couple...
influence?
So why do we hate this guy's books?
Because these guys talk about people having visions and becoming almost kind of like Joseph Smithy because they can have visions. And somehow, 1, 2, skip a few, that led to Tim Ballard, that led to Jody. I mean, they kind of point to Jody Hildebrandt, Lori Vallow, and these guys because they're having these wild visions and they're doing dangerous stuff because they're believing their own visions.
Bad things are bad, and they're doing 6 degrees of bad thing to bad and saying, "Ha see."
Yeah, so these books are just stories of people who had visions, and their visions led them to, I don't know, have some sorts of future seeing abilities or something like that. And it doesn't even like, they're almost kind of more just like narratives of that stuff. It's not saying you should do this so you can go do this. Like there's nothing normative directly in it. It's just saying this happened to this guy or something like that, you know. And so then they read it, and then it gets all these crazy preppers to believe that they have those powers so much so that they go and kill somebody. And now John thinks that they better excommunicate all these people because they all think the same way as Lori Vallow. And
a couple of the jackets to his books. Really quickly, I'm getting called out fairly. Corey Bell writes, she's quoting me in my call to excommunicate someone. And then he or she writes, I thought
Corey Bell's all over Latter-day Lobsters, isn't he?
What is
excommunication was barbaric and a 15th century answer to a 21st century problem. The truth is, you're right, Corey. I am against excommunications. I do think they're barbaric and medieval. Especially when it's people that are.
I didn't copy all of it. Like he spent like 5 minutes screaming that they got to excommunicate these guys.
I'm against capital punishment, but that motherfucker should fry.
That's basically how he threads every single needle. That's how progressives thread everything. Like I'm for free speech, just not the people I don't like to have free speech. That's
Also,
their argument for everything.
Medieval? I mean, come on, man. That feels a little like you're really reaching to the top shelf with your descriptors right there. Medieval, I think of things like thumb screws and the rack, not getting kicked out of a church that I'm shitting on.
Well, no, to belabor the point, because he's talking about in the medieval time when the church was the state.
Yeah.
And it was part of your civic expectation to be a church member in good standing. Then getting excommunicated wasn't getting thrown out of a club. It was getting thrown out of civilization. So but that's not what happens to Mormons, John DeLynn. Like you got thrown out of a private club in America.
You got thrown into the briar patch.
And also, despite anything that you'll say, you won't even get shunned if you're excommunicated. I've known people that have gotten excommunicated and been rebaptized.
Things and I guarantee,
like the guy you're just talking about. You're talking about that guy. Like, what is he supposed to? The whole doctrine is about forgiveness. So, if the guy gets rebaptized.
I guarantee that the people that excommunicated John DeLynn are to this day far more interested in being friends with John DeLynn than John DeLynn is interested in being friends with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sure of it, because that's how Mormons are. They just want everybody to be on the team.
Yeah. Let's catch up to what some of these guys are saying. Oh my gosh, not this Muppet. No, that's back with the Damn Club. Anybody heard of John Voight? I put this up a while ago. That's Angelina Jolie's dad.
I know that it's Angelina Jolie's dad, but
he was in some good movies back in the day.
I think my generation is most familiar with John Voight from the Seinfeld episode.
There was the Urban Cowboy, man. Was that?
He is the subject of one of my favorite Patton Oswalt jokes back when Patton Oswalt was funny. And he's talking about the Star Wars prequels and how annoying it is to him that George Lucas was like, Darth Vader and how cool he is. Well, here he is when he's a toddler and he has toddler problems and stuff like that. And here's C-3PO, before he knew anything. And here's Luke and Leia as infants and stuff. And he's like, I don't need to know where the things that I love came from in order to love them. Nobody said, you think Angelina Jolie's hot? Here's a picture of John Voight's nutsack.
That is kind of weird. It's like you look at John Voight and you're like, oh, okay. And I'm not particularly into Angelina Jolie, but she had a career as an attractive person. But
did we ever talk about?
I never got it.
about Billy Bob Thornton's Angelina song?
No, because
Oh
weren't
my
they
God.
together?
They were together.
He did a
wrote
song for her?
about it. He did.
I mean, I
And
remember they carried like blood vials
is-
for each other around.
dude, it is fucking cringy. I'll send it to you. And
Oh, that sounds awful.
he won't like if an interviewer brings it up.
I have not heard
He
it.
walks out of the interview. It's pretty great.
Man, how long has it been since anybody's seen Sling Blade?
I don't even know what that is.
Talking about Billy Bob Thornton. It's a classic.
Oh, man.
It's an
Forever
independent
ago.
movie by Billy Bob Thornton, and he plays a simple guy who he likes biscuits and mustard. He's just a child. You shouldn't have done that. It's just a child. And then the classic line is like, "What are you doing with that? I aim to kill you with it."
John Boy, I said the Urban Cowboys, Midnight Cowboy. I did watch that. That was like all like 70s noirish, not noir, but just like kind of a Scorsese-ish type film stuff. Him and that's when John Voight was like an up and coming like big time actor. Then everything since then is kind of been blockbustery, if it's anything schlocky or blockbustery. But he's weird because he's totally a super conservative dude. He's open conservative and
openly conservative
in Hollywood. Dun, dun, dun. But he also pops up in little roles in a million different movies too.
How brave.
Yeah.
Oh, he's young enough to be president.
Genuinely trying to help the church do good. People like Jeremy Runnels, Natasha Helfer, Sam Young, Leah and Cody Young, so many good, honest, kind people have been put through disciplinary council hell for simply
about when he's
holding
listing
up
up the people, like when he's listing up the people, and then because people have made in the lobster group and stuff, the ex-Mormon, they do like the parody of the church,
the apostles,
of the presidency and the apostles, and they do the ex-Mormon version. And like John DeLinnis just kind of start throwing those names out there. That's basically what he's doing, and he's saying like these are the people you should look to.
They're so good. They're good. How dare they excommunicate the goodness that all they were trying to do is goodness for the church? Like, why can't you just like admit that, like, no, you were not trying to do goodness for the church? You might have like convinced yourselves you were doing goodness for people, but no, the idea wasn't to be good for the church. That wasn't your aim.
Well, but like, do they just suffer from some kind of basic narcissism where they aren't able to understand? Okay. Then never mind. That answers that. I was gonna say like maybe can you see that the church, even though you don't believe what they do, you can imagine what an organization made of people who believe what they do might want to do. But like he can't do that. He's just like, no, I'm confused. Why aren't you doing what I want?
You must declare me good and you not good, organization. My whole point in my life is to find organizations that think I'm bad and try to get them to declare me good and them bad. That's what I'm here for. That's my thing, man. That's what I do.
Mirror to the church, showing the church what it is, giving the church advice on how to do better. And the church, what does the church do to thank them? It excommunicates them. Now, you are calling me out on hypocrisy that is valid. If I think excommunication is barbaric, why would I call for it? And I would just say this. I don't know, Lauren, what should be done with people that are advocating breaking the law, people that are advocating hysteria.
What do you mean you don't know?
Profiting from.
You're clearly suggesting they should be excommunicated.
But I don't know who he's saying is that, because he's saying those book writers should be excommunicated, and they don't say in those books break the law. These are people who read those books becoming random one-off nutters for their own beliefs. Like they say, those books say I can have my own visions, so here's my own visions, I can break the law. Those books don't say, hey, go break the law. They just say you can trust your own visions, and then their own nuttiness whips up those visions. Homite supremacist lieutenant. Do these experts know Dan McClellan experts? You think the West? Oh man, I think I'm pretty far behind on these comments. If you guys see comments, because I don't like see the screen all the time that you want to bring up, mention them. Didn't Hanson Park get canceled? She's been through like 15 cancelings because she keeps suddenly supporting the wrong person. And there's been a lot of different times where they suddenly all go after her because she supposedly stood by the right guy or the wrong guy. There was like a moment that she said that she had good interactions with a guy who turned out to have molested his family for years and years. And she stayed by her. I mean, I guess he could be like strong on that, but she stayed by her side of saying like, well, my interactions with him were fine. I was just going off of my interactions with him. And then the whole leftist world went nuts about wanting to destroy her for that.
She's gonna get canceled when like she asks when she messages you and tells you that her and her husband are now into cucking and they want you to be her bull, and we publish it online and laugh about it.
Right. Yeah, right. I think she's officially divorced now. I can't remember. I haven't kept up on that. But that was one of them. Then she actually got in trouble because she stood up for Delenn when Delenn was accused. But anyway, had difficulty opening this one. I'll confess, sacrament meetings. I've been buzzed at sacrament meeting, guys. You've done it. Nice. I didn't. Did you guys ever do that? Did you guys ever?
Never when I was a member. Like I went to a wedding at a church and we smoked a joint in the parking lot.
Damn.
That was a wedding and that was outside. And we went well away. Like it was a big suburban Salt Lake City church parking lot.
Huh. No, I've never done that. I need to.
Yeah, like I was an excommunicated atheist at the time, so like that's whatever. That's not a thing. Because like because that's things because like none of us would have done it in the church. It's not like any of us were like that kind of dork. Like hey let's go be blasphemous.
No, yeah, I didn't ever do that.
Like in high school, that's the thing. It's like, oh, let's do fucked up shit in the sacred place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I left it all honestly, man. I left it all honestly on the up and up.
Yeah, I left it honestly on the down and out, but I was honest about it.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't ask me to stay and teach them the right way to know. But anyway, I'll never get over that. I'll never get over that. But they let other people stay, but they don't let me stay. Ugh. They ruin my birthday month every year. This is Jane Hawes. Sarah Stoner says it's Trans Awareness Decade. The more mad you get about it, the more trans you get. I'll fap every day this month. Fuck you. I'm not that mad. I'm just theatric right now.
You have any idea who Jane Hobbs is?
No.
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. But we didn't know who Frank Sinatra was.
We don't know who Frank Sinatra was.
Yeah, I don't know. We got enough people kind of starting to join up the Latter-day Longhouse now.
There's like no way that this is Ronan.
But I mean, it's anonymous and stuff. So
yeah,
I guarantee you're a top-notch bartender. Excuse my. Do you do bartending stuff?
No,
like do you do like a shaky thing type stuff?
No, see, that's the thing is because like I mean, I like a lot of alcohol stuff, but I'm not big into cocktails, and I don't.
Yeah, he doesn't cocktail it up.
When I like all the liquor and stuff, I take almost everything neat in little sips. I mean, like I enjoy cocktails, but part of it's expensive. I don't make a lot of money.
Oh, I'm going to a liquor convention on Saturday.
Oh,
yeah, I forgot I was going to mention that to you.
Why did you get to do that? Can I come?
I mean, yeah, if you want to come up here, it's.
I gotta work.
Don't, dude. That avow stuff's up there, man.
Oh yeah, there's avow stuff up here. You might end up, I don't know, killing your children or something. No, it's just my friend was. My friend was like, "Want to go to a liquor convention?" I was like, "Yeah." So that's why I'm going.
Well, that could be fun. Earlier this week, I may or may not have gotten to had an opportunity to have a lunch at a very fancy Italian restaurant with a Tuscan winemaker. That was a fun afternoon.
Nice.
I drank a lot of tasty wines that I'd never gotten to try before, and they was good. But I spat 90% of it into a jug because I'm pro.
That's disgusting to me. That's valuable drunk.
No, because like the stuff that I just like I didn't have the heart to spit out was a Vinsanto, which is a Tuscan dessert wine. I'm not normally into dessert wines. This shit was just magical. It's made of it's Sangiovese, but they let the grapes dry like raisins, and then they make a wine out of that, and then they age it like a sherry, so it gets oxidized, and it's just fucking. It's like if it came in full size wine bottles, it costs about $90 a bottle, but they don't make it in big bottles. But yeah, goddamn. Anyway, I'm just thinking about that, reminiscing. God, it was good. We gotta have scotch and cigars porch time. That's the thing we gotta do. Anyway, sorry.
Should do it. Let's see. What are the guys saying? Don't you know communism is the new gold? Apocalyptic books matter. This is all barbaric and evil. Man, bear, pig. God damn it! If you're the top shelf, you got thrown into the McDonald's ball pit, John Delaney. I'm gonna jump down a little bit. Disciplinary council hell. Hypocrisy is valid. It has been noted and logged. Yeah, Delaney's boring me, but he just trust me. He goes off a whole lot more about how they thread the needle about why they think that those guys should be excommunicated, but excommunication is barbaric. But you can fill in all the blanks with Delaney all the way through. I wanted to get into. Well, I want to talk to Southie Parks too. We got.
I already watched that. I need to watch it again. That was pretty good. Classical South Park, was a lot more like just in your face comedy. I mean, it was brilliant. It was excellent. The new stuff I noticed is like it's thinkier for sure. It's a different kind of show, but
yeah,
I really did enjoy this special. I thought.
Hey, look at this. Word Radio's got a big live stream and channel announcement. Are they doing another Crowder relaunch where they relaunch after they just relaunched?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out. The South Park episode was great. I was actually surprised that the B plot I thought was even funnier than the A plot. I really liked
the B plot was fucking great.
That was a really good lesson. That was an important thing. That
nobody knows how to do anything. Thanks.
That handyman shit was so funny.
No, I mean, because I mean, in my real life, I've had this experience. Like, I mean, well, Chris was there for some of it, but because for example, like I've worked in retail. In American retail type things, and like there's constant meetings and everything takes forever, and everything's got to go through the process, and we got to all this shit, and then but like I worked for a year in a Mexican grocery store, and it's just amazing because like first off, there were no meetings. Why would there be a meeting? It's a grocery store. What's going to change? And if there was anything we would need to know, Betty would literally just run around the store and scream in Spanish. And then we would know what we needed to know there, and then I forget this.
I want to come up with a good running description of why meetings exist. And it's something along the lines of meetings exist for mediocre people to pretend that they're important. It's something like that. Like, because that's all of the meetings that we have. It's always somebody being like, let's talk about safety. Here's the guy that slipped on ice. You got to watch out for ice. And I'm like, okay, I'll watch out for ice. And then they'll take that month and be like, see, after I said we got to watch out for ice, we had 0 slips, whereas last month we had 2. I used it.
I tend to avoid talking stuff about my place just because not generally supposed to, but I think I can kind of get away with this one. But there's been several times, like the place I work at is like a country club up in Fancy. It's South Park. I work at South Park.
But for example, because like
bottle water, South Park. But
the second part of this anecdote is that because Chris was there for that part too, was like because at one point we worked in city-owned property and an American company, and they were getting new time clocks. And the new time clock thing was like this weeks-long thing, and hiring contractors and getting permits and all this shit. At the Mexican grocery store, they sent Javier to the Home Depot with the credit card.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 hours later, the new time clock was installed,
That's fucking awesome. I love shit like that.
Yeah, well, my place, we had like a meeting, and there's a lot of high paid like land developer or whatever people up there. Like I'm talking like we're in this meeting room, and if I could count, and I do the payroll, so I know like the wages of everybody, and like I can count up like really technically like what an hour costs in there, and it's high because all those guys get paid a whole lot. And if I could tell you the amount of times we spent an entire one of those hours talking about dog poo and where they put dog poo and where they clean the dog poo in the place up there, that
Come work for the government, man. This is like I just spent the last 2 days in a conduct of operations training where they kept showing us like these industrial accidents and being like, where did they go wrong? And it's just a bunch of people in my field of work being like, oh, well, I would never overlook that kind of thing. I would have checked the pressure valve or well, just stupid shit like that. Yeah, of course. In hindsight, you would have done things way, way better than these other people.
Speaking of which, did you see like Cuomo on Bill
On Maher?
Maher? And they were able to ask Cuomo if he'd do anything different, and he'd be like, you know, he said, "We didn't know we were playing Monday morning quarterback, and yes, we did everything right." You know, like it's just like
I love that. I love that defense. They're always like, "Yeah, we know we messed up a little bit, but we were dealing with incomplete information." I was like, "You pulled children out of school when you knew immediately that this did not affect children at all. You
sent
you
grannies
killed
back
a bunch
to
of
old folks' homes with COVID.
you killed a bunch of old people. You knew it affected them disproportionately. You
had
gave
this argument with
hotels
them.
away to homeless people."
But because of how politicians have to talk nowadays, he also can't say we did it wrong and I would do that different. He still can't say that. But no, it was all right exactly how we did it too.
Yeah.
Like yes,
we made the
we
right
can't
choice.
play Monday morning quarterback, but yes, we did it right. But we didn't have all the information. But you know, it's more kettle logic. Like the two things don't make sense.
It's kind of like the mistakes were made thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit happened, but it's not because we did anything wrong.
And we didn't do anything wrong. There's stuff to look back and there's more to learn about from what went wrong, but we didn't do anything wrong. But we need to also be ready to forgive the people who didn't know what they were doing and that sort of crap.
Well, I don't know. I just get so annoyed about this because like I got in this argument with the lady at work about COVID because I got in the whole thing. It was like there was never any reason that the masking and the social distancing, there was never any reason for that. She's like, well, we didn't know that. And I'm like, well, there was no evidence for that. And she's like, well, but there was no she said about evidence. And but I remember saying the fact there was no evidence was the evidence that there's no evidence for this.
The evidence is like you don't need to do this because
we don't need to do this because there's no reason to do this. That's how we know. Like
we also didn't have evidence that people who ride skateboards to work instead of bikes are less likely to give COVID. And we didn't say everybody ride a skateboard to work.
It's all with that like trans stuff. It's like I don't have 50-year longitudinal studies. If I cut everybody's right arm off, it'll make them more depressed. Like we don't know if that's true or not. We don't have the studies on this. We don't have proof of this yet, so we can't.
But here's the thing: this is just people. This is it's almost like maybe even empiricism can be taken to an extreme. Like, where's your source to suggest that chopping your arm off would
That's
make
really
you
how they
sadder?
use it. Like
It is.
you don't have the empirical proof yet that would cause that outcome.
So we might as well try it.
Yeah.
Because
not
the crazy
only
people,
might as well, we need to.
No, we need to try it because otherwise they're going to kill themselves. The crazy people are telling us that they need their dicks inverted before they turn 18 years old, and they need to be put on osteoporosis-causing hormone medication from a very young age.
Delin was talking about, hey, you guys excommunicated us, but we're not causing any sort of craziness out there. And then you have these 4 cases of these people who got murderous because they thought they were having visions. Yep, those are nutters. But guess what? And all you guys also justifying putting your kids through hormones and stuff with their little bodies. I'm sorry, it's not less nuts. It's as nuts.
Yeah. Well, no, and the scarier thing about the Lynn and the hormones is that like the nutters, the weird Mormon Book of Isaiah preppers that have visions and weird ideas, not one of them is a published PhD director of a humanities department anywhere. None of them are consultants on NPR or MSNBC. None of them are an elected office. None of them are HR representatives.
That the public schools, if they don't put their teachings in there, those
Yeah.
public schools must be fascist crazies.
Like
who
you have to
want
pretend
violence.
like there's any kind of like no, these are crazy people. There's always been crazy people. And it used to be that we didn't tolerate any crazy people, but now we tolerate your crazy people, John DeLynn. You know, the people that want to put children on fucking hormone blockers because they say that they feel awkward and they don't like their body. You know, like, I mean, that is enough to get a trans diagnosis now, like, according to them.
Oh yeah, it's happened. And all we do, like, I always say to people, and I've got a phone full of it because I screenshot all the proofs, but I can't like regurgitate them out of my brain in a split second.
Yeah.
And I go like, how many proofs do you want? I can give you 100. I know I've got them saved on my phone. I just have to sit there and pull them out for you. But there's
there's like that's the thing where I really wonder, like, because sometimes I think you're encountering the hatchling thing where they're just playing dumb.
Yeah, they know.
But I also wonder, like, you know, are you really just so insulated that you're not?
I think there's some normie lefties who they don't actually have any kids or family who are involved in that stuff, haven't looked into the studies, and then they hear experts say this, and the APA says this, and the AMA says that. So, well, there must be something there. Although it kind of blows my mind that that's like what's happened. I saw somebody just going around and interviewing like a bunch of women about what do you think about little kids getting tattoos, and they all said no, they can't get tattoos till they're 18. And they said, okay, well, how about those little kids getting on hormone therapy and cutting off their breasts? Well, you got to let them make their decisions and all that sorts of stuff. And it's like I have the clip. I have the clip of it somewhere.
Okay, but what if they threaten to kill themselves if you don't let them get a tattoo?
Oh, you just broke the hair. You broke the matrix.
Because we don't seem to negotiate with that in most cases. If you say to a girl, break up with me and I'll kill myself, all of her family's going to be like, get the fuck away from that guy.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, well, you can't break up with him. He'll kill himself.
No, the family just like break up with him at his house. So if he kills himself, he stains his own carpet.
But one of the things that they're talking about is like, so those are normie gals or whatever, just kind of saying what they think they've learned that they should say on the street. But what amount of them would have said that 5 years ago? And how did that get incepted into their brains? Because none of them, like maybe 5 years ago, but 8 years ago for sure, no. You know, and but how did they incept it? How did they incept it in so hard? Oh, look at this.
So that was peeled bananas. I just barely paid attention to that. Those peeled bananas.
Yeah, it was peeled. Yeah, I was talking about the Panderverse. Like, yeah, we can't do anything. You need somebody at the store to peel the banana for you now.
Okay, here's the thing. When I'm king of the world, I'm not gonna stop selling peeled bananas, but the peeled bananas will they will have a sterilizing agent put in them. So you can buy peeled bananas, but if you eat them, you will be unable to reproduce.
Yeah, look at this. BYU club leader buzzwords and phrases like attack on Israel, militants, conflict, and war are meant to misdirect and mislead. This is BYU groups for Palestine. The highest escalation of Palestine resistance against the Israeli occupation now in recent memory is taking place right now. When Ukrainian citizens were fighting back against Russian aggression, the narrative was the opposite. It was applauding the brave men and women resisting oppression. The Palestinian people have every right to defend themselves and resist occupation from their oppressors. Do not let Western media tell you otherwise. This is BYU.
Who wrote this? The president
of
the
ASA? The Cougar Chronicle, yeah.
Well, I just want to know, like, because this ASA person that's making this argument, can we ask that person? Ask that person? Can we put that person on the record of answering the following question? Does Israel have a right to exist?
They probably say no, like when those people have been infiltrating and asking all those protests and all that sort of stuff.
Because, like, I mean, it seems like a stupid conservative trope, but like, no, there's like that really is the heart of the matter. Because, like, I mean, I don't like ethno states, but I think Israel, like I've said before, I think the Israelis have demonstrated that they're perfectly willing to live in peace with their Muslim Arab neighbors, just as long as they abide by the rules of free Israeli democratic society. Okay, so then let them have their state and let Palestine have a state.
Here's a counterpoint, though. Counterpoint.
I have done nothing wrong ever in my life.
I know.
I love you too, Daddy. Money, please. I've done nothing wrong ever.
Yeah, that's pretty
in my
true.
life.
I know this. And I love you.
I love you too, Daddy. Money, please.
You ever watch
That is very correct.
Yeah, that's good.
It's
That's,
Parks
and Rec.
actually.
Yeah.
What? It's so weird, like, because Henry Winkler was like famous for being on that terrible show where he played a dumb character.
What, you're talking about Happy Days? That was like
Yeah.
crazy popular, wasn't it?
I know, but it's such a
Fine.
dumb show. And like, but Henry Winkler as an old man, just being kind of a parody of himself, is so much funnier.
He's
Yeah, and it all
Hilarious.
started from Arrested Development, which is
Because like the Fonz was just cheesy, just dumb sitcom. But yeah, like he's genuinely a funny guy.
If you look at Arrested Development, it's all ties of Happy Days. Like they all kind of like Happy Days spin-off ties and all that sort of
Guess
stuff.
so. I never.
But
Put that
really is like
together,
the
but
spread-on
yeah.
thing for it, and then they even make fun of Happy Days stuff in it all throughout it. There's stuff where like he'll do like some movements like the Fonz in the mirror, or they have a moment where he jumps over a shark, which comes from Happy Days. But he's like standing on a dock. He's standing on a dock talking to people and saying, "Well, I gotta go," and he just jumps over the shark right there. And they make fun of it. But all the people in that show have like strange Happy Days connections. So it's really kind of like the
because what's
the
his
old
name?
pros still doing comic stuff. They
Ron
had-
Howard, because it was
Ron Howard's in
Howard.
it. Scott Baio's
Yeah.
in it. There's
Yeah.
a lot of Happy Day ties in it.
I never put that all together.
Yeah.
God,
Like,
that show was
they, like,
good.
grew
until it
up
got
and
on
did better
Netflix.
comedy. Yeah, that's one of those scenarios that's kind of like Howard Stern's a little bit, like where those places really thrived from the censorship. So like they get the censorship, and half the joke is the ways they try to wriggle around the censorship or try to cut things fast or weird or different or hinting at stuff. And then they suddenly get free of censorship and they lose this edge. They lose this thing that they have.
Yeah, no, and I also felt like when Arrested Development went to Netflix, because
Yeah,
you know,
that's because they lost the censorship. They were able to do what they wanted there,
Well,
and
no,
then they
but-
didn't have to cut it tight either. They didn't have to cut it at 20.
Well, that's what I was about to say, is because like with the Netflix, they weren't 22 minutes. They were as long as they wanted them to be, and you can tell it really benefited from being.
It had such like
cut
a
down.
it had such like a rapid pace editing job through it because you could tell they're just trying to fit in every joke they possibly could in 22
Wait,
minutes.
are you saying Arrested Development got better when it went to Netflix?
No,
it got
before
worse.
Netflix is where it lost.
Oh, okay.
Well, what we're saying,
I
because
was reading something and I heard you say that and I was like, what the fuck are we talking about?
We're being long-winded about it, but Netflix, because the censorship and the time constraints were removed, the show got worse.
Yeah, I didn't like season 4. I didn't really even try season 5.
I actually think it got better. They kind of refigured out how to go back to the old way a little bit. I think they took their own realization of that and went a little bit back to how the first seasons were edited. But and they actually did a re-edit. They put out something that was like edited like one person at a time, covering what they'd been doing for 15 years. They did a re-edit of that whole season, which was better. The re-edited 4th season or something. And it got better. It got better. It's still just not as good as the original stuff though.
Yeah. For sure.
Are you kidding? The guy who sings Richmond, North of Richmond is an activist? I'd heard some weird stuff about him, but I don't know what that's.
It's on the.
It's over
image
there.
Oliver Anthony's Call to Action. It's a short.
It looks like he's talking about Jeebus.
Probably.
He's talking about nihilism. But I actually
already forgot that he was the guy. I listened to a song one time. I thought that's a good performance, and then I forgot about him.
Did you listen to this song?
I listened to it one time. I thought it was like AI, maybe.
I couldn't tell if it was real at first either.
Is it AI or is that the real thing?
It's real.
That's not good. Should we cringe it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely cringy.
Will he copyright strike us?
I don't think so. The Daily Wire, Peterson.
Who did
I don't think so.
Like, who produced
Well,
it?
he'd said a while back that he'd been like writing limericks or stuff like that, and he had a friend who was putting it to music, and so whoever that friend is, he had another song.
So he did this.
He did this, yeah.
Oh my god.
He'd been talking about it in some episodes in the past that he was getting into poetry and lyric writing, and that he had a friend who was putting it to music. But actually, what I kind of want to point out is like, I think you're talking about crappy lyrics, like
continues.
Nuance.
I do like.
Yeah, I like some. I like the images on this TV. Everything that comes off this TV. Although I feel bad that like Michael Malice and Gadsad are like equated to this thing, but like everything that was done on this, I don't mind the video so much. Like I even think it's funny seeing Peterson as like a dorm kid who thinks he's Antifa. Like that's funny too. I just don't like the song, but.
For the love of God, man.
This is
I want to be a
too.
resentful taco delivery boy. There's a real hell on earth. You know, I had a guy come up to me.
We'll drink and because I'm a big to save his love. And no universe from the south of the ocean.
Oh, geez.
Left yourself an absolute mess.
Michel Foucault was a genuine pervert, and it made him awful sad.
So this is one of the things I want to point at, and it is like he's doing all these like lyrics and he's like working on it, but he keeps like there's not to be like a critic of poetry or lyrics and that sort of thing, but he uses all of these well to be a critic about it. Why do you say that when that's exactly what you're doing?
Yeah,
you're doing that. Go ahead, do it. You write good words. I like your songs.
The adjective awful is useless. Like putting like those types of words in your songs is crap. Like there's that's something I learned from like reading books from like John Lennon. And those are the types of things that John Lennon used to come down on Paul McCartney about. Is like you keep putting in these completely useless adjectives. Like what's all this like awfuls and justs and quites? And
It's filler.
It's filler words. Yeah,
it's
like you can do better.
You're trying to fill out the measure.
Yeah, you're just putting in a word there that gives more syllables, but they mean nothing. Like awful sad means nothing.
See, I can be a sucker for things that sound like sonically pleasing though. Like just if a word sounds pleasing to me, like I don't mind it being filler. Like
yeah,
totally. I mean,
if in the melody, like if you can give that awful some kind of lilt or stress or something.
Or if it like works with an alliteration, there's an alliteration there.
Yeah,
with
but this is very much just like I need to bang out a poem. I need 2 syllables.
Yeah.
I need the stresses to fit.
I think of it in this way. Like when I think of things that are like sonically pleasing to me, that just like please my ears. It's Sam's Town by the Killers. He has a lyric where he says, "I took a shuttle on a shockwave ride where people on the pen pull the trigger for accolades." I don't even think that means anything, but it sounds fucking cool to me. When he says it, I'm like, that's a pretty thing you just said, even if it's meaningless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mind some like Jeff Tweedy does like a lot of like meaningless lyrics, but he makes them interesting. He does that on purpose, like he says.
Frank Black is very good at gibberishy things. Stephen Malkmus is one of the great.
John Lennon was like
John Lennon absolutely was, and a guy. This is kind of a deep cut, but a guy who I really love his nonsensical lyrics, because they're things like where like the first time you hear them, you're like, oh, I think I can tell a story out of that. But if you try to dig into it, like, wait, no, it's just nonsense. But there's a Canadian guy that only put out 2 records called "Throw Me the Statue," and his lyrics are all very good, kind of weird, nonsensey things. But anyway.
Well, I think like the Oliver Anthony song is a good example. The Fudge Rounds lyric, I hate that lyric. Like I hate it.
The what lyric?
The Fudge Rounds lyric.
He says like there's.
I don't know what Fudge Rounds means.
He said Fudge Rounds.
He says like fat women on welfare are getting fudge.
Well, yeah. The lyric is if you're 5'3" and you're 600 pounds, taxes ought not pay for your bags of fudge rounds. And I'm like, that sounds like it was a reach to get to, like, you.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a little shoehorned in. Yeah.
Yeah, just like try a little bit harder, because I actually like the thing you're saying. Like, maybe
But nobody thinks of fudge rounds. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it feels a little on the nose.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what a fudge round is. I can guess, but
It's an oatmeal cream pie, but chocolate.
because I don't think I can buy one of those in Salt Lake City today. I don't think I can get a fudge round. Can I?
Yeah, you can go to just Walmart. Usually, you can get.
Does Walmart have fudge rounds? Are they called fudge rounds?
Oh, that's what they are.
They're
Oh,
just
they're
little,
actually
they're just,
look at
yeah,
that's
they're
what
little.
are.
They're
I've
little
seen
Debbie's.
y'all.
Is it
I was
Little
thinking like
Debbie?
more of like a generic fudge round. Are you looking at the screen? There's the it's Little Debbie.
Oh, that's worse to know that it's a specific.
I didn't know that either. I was thinking of like Costco fudge.
That's why it's weird to me. You actually set a brand name rather than just an idea.
Yeah, that's even worse. But
I don't know though. Like, isn't that like Andy Warhol shit? Because that's part of life, right?
Yeah, but the problem is we know it was to make a rhyme. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And it's also, I hate it when I almost always hate it when songwriters will emphasize the weird part of the syllable, because that's what works with the song. Sometimes I don't totally hate it, but I can't think of an example right now, but that's what that one sounds like to me. When somebody says it, they say fudge rounds. They don't say fudge rounds, but the song says fudge rounds. You know, they put the emphasis on round.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's one word and the emphasis is on the second syllable.
I think that's one of the huge things about lyric writing, which just actually makes you have to put in a lot of more effort. But at the same time, too, it doesn't take a ton of effort to make yourself sound pro. And one of the ideas with it is if you stop and think about it, if you find yourself squeezing in any syllables where it's not natural, or if you find yourself screwing with like an emphasis or something like that, say, nope, I like the word and I like all that stuff, but I got to go back to the drawing board because I squeezed something in or I did this. Like, it's got to come out.
Or if you say
what if you tried to make a band that only wrote in BBC World BBC? You know, have you guys ever listened to the World BBC Radio? Because there's a particular like BBC prosody, and the way I remember it is controversy in Tanzania today. and they say everything in that kind of weird stress thing. We should make a whole band of that. But
the emphasis on the wrong syllable type stuff.
But like now I want to go back now and try to pay extra close attention, because like the musical guys that I think are like the best poets that work as music are like Stuart Murdoch, Bell and Sebastian. Like his stuff is just gorgeous and perfect, and I want to go back and listen to it. Like, but because I don't think he does any of this stuff, because he gets a lot of depth, he squeezes a lot of meaning, and yet musically it all works very well. It works as poetry on the page and it works musically. But like for me, the very best of all lyricists for me is Will Sheff of Ockerville River.
Yeah, I remember
Same
them.
thing. Yeah, he's really, really good.
I love guys like Nick Cave and Leonard Cohen and
Leonard
a little
Cohen.
bit more wordy stuff. But like Leonard Cohen said that like, some of his songs he would sit on for years because of one line not working. And so does Tom Waits. Tom Waits, he said he would do that too. He's like, this one line just doesn't quite work.
I wish Katy Perry would do that because she's the one I think of when I think of this syllable thing. She has that song called Unconditionally, but when the chorus is just her saying unconditional.
Yeah.
Unconditional.
I was doing a deep dive.
Says it like that, Katy Perry. And then she also has the worst bridge I've ever heard. You could tell a lot. Your song is his own. So your burger is only as good as your bun. Your song is only as good as your bridge, right? And when the bridge is like, oh fuck, I forgot this song needs a bridge, then you fucked up. And that's what it is in Firework. It's one of my examples of my least favorite lyrics ever when she says boom boom boom, even brighter than the moon moon moon.
Oh
holy Christ, lady, that's terrible in every single way. It felt like you were reaching for a rhyme that you failed at.
I don't mind that there's here and there.
stuff.
And here and there, there's like a
Probably not,
soft
no.
rhyme that doesn't exactly work if it's like part of the middle of a verse. Or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
Like that. But if it's like a hook like that, like no, it's gotta be a real rhyme.
Well, and it's not even that. It also just doesn't work. Like brighter than the moon. Who even says that? Like you don't.
Moon. Yeah.
When you think of
moon.
when you think of bright things, you don't think of the moon. Like you're like if you tell a kid like your light shines brighter than the moon, it sounds like you're being condescending.
Yeah, or it's like
A
'cause there's a
waxing
big
or a
jump to the
winging?
next brightest thing.
That's actually so you'll appreciate this, Flip. There's do you know Paula Fernandez?
No,
She's Brazilian Taylor Swift, basically.
I don't know Brazilian pop music at all.
She has this great line, and I thought it was me misinterpreting Portuguese because she said, "Eu quero ser para você a lua eliminando o sol," and I was like, "Wait a minute, what?" I don't think that the moon lights up the sun.
Yeah.
And I was like, I must be just hearing it wrong.
It must be a turn of phrase you don't understand.
Yeah,
You
but then
did some stuff with Taylor Swift.
Oh, I don't know.
Whoa.
Looks like she did. Yeah, I had a crush on her in.
I can see that. You know,
Understandably, yeah, but don't date Brazilian women.
So,
Don't.
well, so I was doing like a bit of a weird deep dive this week into Erasure, and I was tripping out, kind of like them and Depeche Mode a little bit. That these kind of bands from the '80s, and I was looking into them. And they were self-started, but every one of their songs, I'm not saying like I don't think their lyrics are great, but they are perfectly placed. Like every single one of their songs is so economically like perfect, like exactly
Andy
like
Bell,
right with like they're just exactly right with the lines, exactly right with the words, exactly right with the timing, exactly like each song's so economically perfect.
And I
mean,
believe
how did you guys do that? How did you guys, two young guys, make sure that every single one of your songs are just like these perfectly made little cookies? Even if
my
they're
understanding is that like I mean, so I'm not a big Erasure guy, but I'm a friends with the big Erasure guy. My understanding is because basically, two guys, it's Vince Carter and Andy Bell. Vince Carter does the music and the programming, and was on the first Depeche Mode album. He was an early member of Depeche Mode, and then Andy Bell writes the words and comes up with the melodies. And my understanding is that like they basically work separately. That Vince Carter is like, "Hey, I made the synthesizer song," and Andy Bell goes, "Oh, all right, I'm going to sing these words to it," and that's how they're like they don't collaborate beyond that. That's my understanding.
That's
But,
crazy.
yeah.
But what blows my mind, like I went through like all their like top songs, and maybe they have other songs where they didn't do it so perfectly, and that's why they're not their top songs. But every single one of their top songs is like economically perfect. Like what I mean by that is like the length of the song is perfect for a #1 hit. The changes are perfect for like a #1 hit. The words are perfectly fit. The like every single thing about it is just like perfectly made. I just like kind of picture like people who are like some chef, and this chef's one job is to make this one type of cookie, and they make that one type of cookie perfectly. Like every single one of those songs just seemed like just perfectly economically perfect for an Erasure song. I don't know how it's
that when we were talking about nonsense lyrics that seem amazing and deep and yet are nonsense. Chorus by Erasure. That's a great example of just really interesting, evocative lyrics that are just nonsensical. You remember that one?
Yeah, I do. Oh, I just listened to it when I was doing a deep dive too.
But because like it's funny to bring up Erasure because like Erasure is one of those things. Like I had this gay friend, and especially early on in high school, because like and because he was into. It was funny. He like if gaydar is a thing, he's the B-2 stealth bomber of gaydar. His gaydar cross section is the size of a hummingbird. And I always joke, like, if you just met him and talked to him, you wouldn't know about any gayness. But if you saw a CD collection, you'd go, oh, there you go. But he was a big Men Without Hats fan. And I was just like, dude, this is terrible. But then, like, after, like, a couple of years of hanging out with him, I became a Men Without Hats fan. And that's what happened with Erasure, too. Like, yeah, literally. Like, because there's, like, I mean, Men Without Hats, there's a lot of terrible shit. But there's some really good gems in there. And same thing with Erasure. Like, I mean, I still tease him to this day that like there are only 5 good Erasure songs, which is not
maybe I just listened to the 5 good ones, but like whatever they were, you could tell that they were perfectly. They're just they're just perfectly made little things.
I'm trying to remember if I can remember the 5 good Erasure songs. There's A Little Respect, obviously.
Chain of Love.
Chorus.
Chains of Love.
Well, another one, it might be kind of a deep cut, but it's one that I just really, really like. And
Take a Chance on Me.
No, not even that one, because that
Wait.
was ABBA.
Yeah, you're thinking.
Oh
ABBA.
yeah, they're cutting. No, but they have
But,
versions of it. that
there's a
hit
deep
the
cut of
top
erasure.
the
It's
chart.
a song called Hideaway, which is
Mhm.
totally 100% a gay coming out song. And
Yeah.
I find it totally touching and all this stuff. But it also, like, it's relevant to our show because it kind of, for me, it harkens back to like the golden age of gayness in my lifetime. Back when it used to be about like tolerance and freedom and
Well, there's a
liberal values, instead of now where it's like, because that song, like, it's totally dated by like queer theory standards, where it's just
the
about
song
like,
A Little Respect. A Little Respect has gay themes in it too.
oh yeah, it's
but
a lot of it's super gay.
you could tell from like that time frame it could have passed for people not knowing if it was gay or not. You know what I mean? But
Well, it's
from,
like
the
Hideaway.
early
Like
80s.
Hideaway at the time, it might, like, if you're totally naive, you'd be like, oh, whatever. But like now, it's totally about a guy coming out to his parents, and being rejected by his parents. It's really great. Look up Hideaway.
Yeah,
by
there's one line in A Little Respect where it just says like, I don't know why any religion would look down on our love or something like that. And that's like
But
the only
here's-
thing that really hints at it. But
Here's my big criticism of Hideaway by Erasure, though, because on the album, the song is published as Hideaway, one word, which is, that's different. That's a noun. Where the song is, you don't have to hide away. That's a verb. They fucked that up. Pisses me off.
I've been learning this yacht rock song from the Doobie Brothers, What a Fool Believes. And it is so, like, if some lyrics are just kind of like perfectly nothing, it's so hard to remember them. It's so hard. It's so hard. Like the hardest thing I've ever done. Okay, look at this verse.
See, is that the trick? Like nonsense that's memorable? Because like Pixies, The Pavement, it's nonsense, but you can remember it. Like it's got a thread.
Yeah, I think
to
that's
it.
the trick. It doesn't matter if it's nonsense as long as like there's something seems meaningful about it and you can remember. Like I can remember Jeff Tweedy songs like an American aquarium drinker. What down the avenue. Like the words don't mean anything, but like I can remember them just out of nowhere. This song I've been learning. I've tried to play this verse again and again and again, and it just won't stay in my head.
He came from somewhere back in her long ago. Wait,
he came from somewhere back in her long ago. The sentimental fool don't see, trying hard to recreate what had yet to be created. Once in her life, she musters a smile for his nostalgic tale, never coming near what he wanted to say, only to realize it never really was.
How does it sound?
I don't even know. Like I can't. I've tried to figure out like what the heck it exactly
I'm
means.
trying to think, like when I think about, like, I remember coming home in 1996 with the Pavement album and putting it on, and you hear Stephen Malcolm go, "Pigs, they tend to wiggle when they walk. The infrastructure rots, and the owners hate the jocks with their agents and their dates. You just have to wait, give the signatures a check, and they're saving up the inches that they save. Entire nation so depraved, from the cheap seat see us wave to the camera. They took a giant ramrod and raised the demon settlement. But hi-ho, silver ride." I remember that whole fucking line. It's all nonsense, and yet there's some kind of weird poetry musicality thread to it that, like, you can hold that narrative together. But this is awful.
So tell me, so he came from somewhere in her long ago. The sentimental fool don't see, he's trying hard to recreate what had yet to be created. What?
Yeah, this is
once in her
mushroom
life
shit. This isn't poetry. This is mushroom.
She musters a smile for his nostalgic tale, never coming near. Wait, she musters a smile for his nostalgic tale, never coming near what he wanted to say, only to realize it never really was.
Yeah, this is junior high garbage. This is awful.
And it's so hard. It's Michael McDonald. I like the song. It's that song, you know it. It's a "What a Fool Believes." You know.
These are the words.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn it. I mean, it's a hard song too because it's like a jazzy song.
I'm trying to remember how Michael.
I think I think I'd say
somewhere back in long ago.
So I think
Yeah.
I think I'd say my best example of like the guy who constantly straddles a line between like that sonically pleasing nonsense and completely retarded bullshit is Anthony Kiedis from the Chili Peppers.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think of like this song "Hard to Concentrate" from Stadium Arcadium has some like sonically pleasing shit to me, like the hustle bustle and so much muscle, ourselves about to separate, and I find it hard to deviate. That doesn't mean anything, but it sounds cool. And then I go to like Soul to Squeeze, which I actually like that song. But then you got what is it? I'll be coming back, maybe I'll be coming back for more. Doo doo dingle zing a dong bone ba dee ba da ba zumba krunga kong gone bad. that's I actually read that off.
Well, have you
It's like I
watched
just
the?
forgot to read.
You watched the episode of How Come This Song Stinks of the Chili Peppers.
Which one was that?
He hasn't
That guy,
released enough
has he
out-
put anything out lately?
No, because he just got lazy like us and just started podcasting instead of like doing like big fancy.
Which one did he do? Was it Californication? Or...
He did the one that is totally like a ripoff of the Tom Petty song, and you can tell it's a ripoff.
Oh, Danny California.
Yeah, Danny California.
Yeah.
You can tell that's a ripoff.
That
of
one,
the
I
song.
remember laughing my ass off because I listened to this interview where Anthony Kiedis was talking about he mentions California a lot in his songs, and he mentions Danny, right? And he like made it sound like it was this big revelation. He's like, I kind of realized that it came to me that the Danny that I mentioned in Californication is the same Danny that I sang about in Danny, California. I was like, oh, you're fucking deep, buddy.
Listen to this. So think of Tom Petty song like she was born in. How does it go? She was born in a Mississippi. Is that the first Mississippi or Alabama?
I can't remember.
She was born in a Mississippi town, had a good-looking mama who never was around when she grew up tall and she grew up right. And then this is
he was born in the state of Mississippi. Papa was a couple and a mama was a hippie.
Yeah, that's right.
He flips it. He says "getting born," so that totally changes.
Getting born.
Getting born in the state of Mississippi. Papa was a couple and the mama was a hippie. Yeah, it's. And he goes all the way through the whole entire song. It's like so obviously just like a ripoff.
For my whole life, because I always had this like hard time with Red Hot Chili Peppers because I just didn't like them. But there's a little part of me that liked them, and it took me forever to realize that like I like John Frusciante playing guitar. Like, I like John Frusciante playing guitar, but
you got to give it to Fleece too.
Yeah.
He's got his style, but when he
Flea
does
is,
it, he does
Flea
it
is
well.
fantastic. No, John Frusciante was my first. He's what made me play guitar because I got into the Chili Peppers when Stadium Arcadium came out because they were playing Snow nonstop. But then I listened, and I don't like a lot of their earlier stuff. I like the album By the Way is pretty good. Californication's got some good stuff on it, and Stadium Arcadium's got some good stuff on it. Anything after that is pretty much dog shit. But like By the Way is great. But John Frusciante is one of those guys that he knows when to go all out, and he can go all out, but he also knows when to hold back, and he can do some really wonky shit that sounds like it's easy, but it's not. Like in the song Can't Stop. That's like it. People mistake that as he's just playing one string, but he's muting every string but the string that he's playing, and he's strumming it like hardcore, and it sounds really cool.
Yeah, no.
I wonder if this has the lyrics written out somewhere, because
he invented philosophical doctrines designed to drive us all quite mad.
that line right there does.
Quite
bad. You know what? He
designed to drive us all quite mad.
If anybody was wondering if I'm any kind of Jordan Peterson fanboy, I'm about to dispel that myth right now. Jordan Peterson's songwriting is reminiscent of L. Ron Hubbard's songwriting.
Well, Jordan Peterson, he's
because
not
I've listened to both
songwriting.
now. I've listened to both now. I can tell you.
It's on lyrics.
I know what happened is that like he just wrote this out. He's like, here's the lyrics for the song we're gonna write. Now let's make them rhyme. We gotta make them bloody rhyme, and that's all there is to it. And that's what happened, because these sound like the weird things that you say that he's adding, like awful is the adjective or the adverb, I don't know, any of those weird added things. Those all sound like All Quite Mad. That's how he speaks. So
Yeah,
I
well,
think he
yeah.
definitely wrote this in the way that he speaks.
For sure. And I don't think
Yeah.
it's bad to speak that way, but if you're rhyming, like get better stuff from
No,
it.
I get it. I'm like, he's not. But, well, no. Have you listened to his interview with Oliver Anthony? I actually
Mhm.
listened to it, and it was interesting to me because, like, half of it is him trying to convince Oliver Anthony to sell out.
No, really?
Because it's Oliver Anthony saying like
make your
yeah,
money.
they keep offering me like, you know, millions of dollars of contracts, but I'm afraid of selling out. I don't want to sell out. And Jordan Peterson is trying to convince him it's a good idea. And I was like, look, Jordan Peterson,
You only have to placate the Jewish lobby a little bit.
I'm like, look, I like you in a lot of ways, man. This isn't one of them. You're like, we need guys that rail against sellouts a little bit.
Scotch Tully is the guy who made the song for him. Let's like thinking like taking a step back about it too. Like, what's a drinking song for? Right? Like a drinking song's supposed to be either kind of joking about degeneracy, little type of stuff,
that was clickbait. That's the reason they named it. That was clickbait.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got a drinking song type of a cadence to it too. But usually, like with a cadence or something like that, the lyrics you're going to put to it are, you know, I mean, what are some drinking songs that are out there? I mean, some of them will be like throwback to old fiddle song type stuff. So it's like
Making love to his tonic and gin.
Yeah,
which is another stupid lyric.
It's stuff you're supposed to sing in a chorus because you're all kind of bonding on it together. Singing about how bad postmodernists were.
I know.
Like, how is that a drinking song?
You could make it funny. Kyle Kalinske could make it, or not Kyle Kalinske. Who am I thinking of? Fucking Fresh Prez of Del C. That guy.
I keep drawing back to the Forever Blowing Bubbles, but I mean, I think that one has the I'm forever blowing bubbles, but that one was ironic too a bit. 21 drinking songs. I don't know, just the overall concept of it is as weird as the little lyrics all along the way too. Like, I don't think there's something wrong with like a song about postmodernists, but a drinking song about postmodernists, I don't know. It feels like a Irish song about South Central LA gangster. It's the wrong words in the wrong place, you know. Well, drink and drink and drink to those who won't think, can't think, rat finks.
What the fuck?
I didn't even hear that one the first time. Saviors of the known universe, for they invented philosophical notions, deconstructive in every way.
This feels like, did you ever have a seminary teacher who could play guitar? And okay, did you?
I should have.
Did you guys have the scripture mastery songs?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what this feels like to me. It's somebody trying to like put to lyrics a scripture.
Yeah. Jacques Derrida, the old joker, stuck a poker in our eyes, tried to challenge ancient wisdom. All he did was demonize. Ta-Nehisi and Kimberly Crenshaw, they're pretentious in every way, but they're nothing compared to Butler. We all pray she'll fade away.
Jesus Christ, really guys, bad. This is terrible. Come on.
Well, then I feel like we could, like, even if we were put it inside.
We'll drink while on the brink. That is bad.
Those saviors of the known universe who invented philosophical notions most conducive to disgrace.
Yeah, Flip, you missed out on the rat fink lyric.
That's a drinking song lyric. Invent philosophical notions most conducive to disgrace.
Yeah. No, like, because this is one of those things, like, because you know, the delivery. We were talking a little bit before about like the musicality, the delivery of the lyric, and for me, like, the best example of like lyrics that on the page are just junior high bullshit, but sung in the context of the song become transcendental wonderfulness is Pink Floyd. Like, if you just read Pink Floyd lyrics, it's just junior high garbage.
Yeah.
But listening to it, like, put in all the context, they make it into a wonderful poetic art form. But like this is the opposite, not even the opposite of that, but like this doesn't work because it's junior high garbage, and then the musicality is also junior high garbage.
No, I was explaining it seriously feels like a seminary scripture mastery song. I remember my seminary teacher would pull out his guitar and be like, "The natural man is an enemy to God and has been from the fall of Adam." Nobody says Adam, okay? And will be forever and ever unless he.
Yeah, that's that
leaves
type of
until
word
saints of
stuffing.
the
That type of
holy.
word stuffing, like if you stuff the word like that, is you go back to the drawing board till something fits. Like you can keep that cadence, but now you got to find words that fit that cadence. And if you didn't find it, you got to sit on it till you find it.
Remember all those times in the hymn book where they smashed the words together with an apostrophe?
Oh yeah,
it's
even worse.
Or
It's
instead of
worse
over.
in Spanish.
Or,
the translations, man, the Spanish translations are just full of those.
Just shoehorned in.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what's really ugly about hymns is the tilde in Portuguese. Man, I don't know how to sing that and make it sound pretty, but your average Brazilian Mormon definitely doesn't. Because there's that whole song, "The Secret Prayer," that hymn, and it's.
And I told you the story of the
so
secret prayer song,
but,
right?
But I had never heard of it before my mission. Then I listened to it. A bunch of members singing that song, and the word is oração. It has that
oração.
Yeah, it has that tilde, and it's different in Portuguese than it is in Spanish because the tilde goes over an A or an O in certain circumstances, and it makes it's basically like you're going but you're closing off your airway and humming it almost. So it's so you'll be like, and it holds out. They refrain like secreta oração. What an ugly sound to make when you're singing.
There's a guy I know that is a Brazilian American who is born, like he was born in Brazil, raised in America, and is totally fluent, and he's a musical genius. And I remember way back when I was a teenager, he talked about how he's like, German and Italian are the languages of opera. Opera works in German and Italian. And he uses a setup to say that English is the language of rock and roll.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Portuguese rock and roll is it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And there's something to that where because those the nasal vowels don't work in rock and roll.
So English is a perfect language for stuff like that because not everything rhymes. That's if you go into any Latin-based language, any verb rhymes with any verb, any noun rhymes with any noun. It's really easy, and it makes you into a lazy songwriter. In fact, it makes you so lazy that Brazilian pop it doesn't have different verses. It's verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse. There's no bridge, and all the verses are the same. They just sing the same verse again.
Yeah, although the thing that I think is interesting about because samba, bossa nova music, is interesting in that lyrically, very little of it lands in the middle. It's either just dumb, sappy, typical pop love shit, or it's the most crushingly gorgeous, perfect, wonderful things because Chega de Saudade is a song that just doesn't translate. Because there's an American translation of Chega de Saudade, it's No More Blues. And the American lyric, the English lyrics are just okay, they're fine. But in Portuguese, there's a real poetry to it. I can't remember where I was going with this. But it's the same thing like the girl from Ipanema. That's one that where it works in English, but I think in Portuguese it's still better. I don't know what I'm getting at there, but there's something going on there.
Well, so I read Faust a while back, and I couldn't help but think to myself, because I know what it's like in English, that as I was listening to this English version, they made sure it all rhymed. That I was like, I know you guys are screwing some stuff up by insisting on rhyming.
Yeah. Just leave that out. If you can't, if you're not gonna make a good poem or a good song by rhyming, to just blatantly refuse to rhyme. I would prefer that.
But there's a sense of I'm trying to read the Faust. I can't read it in its original German. But I'd almost kind of rather you guys do long form, unrhymed stuff that says what it actually says than try to make it an English rhyme for me. Because I know when you make it an English rhyme, you guys are taking. I know I've watched it happen in Spanish translations enough to say, no, don't do that. Tell me just what the original one said. Don't make your little rhymes, whatever translator guy who figures himself a poet as well.
Calling back to Pavement. There's a Pavement song. It's the opening song on their album Wowie Zowie, which was from 1995. And it was a song that I always loved right from the beginning, and I'd listened to a gajillion times. And it wasn't until years later that I realized about the song. And check it out, Pavement, We Dance. It was a great song, and I'll spoil the ending for you. Years later, I realized the song, no sections repeat, and it never rhymes. It's not a song. Like in any traditional sense of a song, no sections repeat and it never rhymes. But it took me years to realize this because it's just such a wonderful little musical thing and lyrically wonderful, even though some of it's kind of nonsensical and a little, yeah, I don't know. Check it out.
I've done that before in songwriting. I've just been like, you know what? I'm not rhyming on this one. I'm just never gonna rhyme because that's.
I should do my party trick one of these times when I do like this just direct immediate translation of Santeria by like I just do like this, yo no practico Santeria, no tengo una bola de cristal. You sit there and like translate it as fast as you can.
Oh, I used to do that to my companions all the time. They would,
and it just sounds like shit.
Well, they'd ask
It's
me
always
to
hilarious.
That's
For
to sing
some
their
reason, that's
favorite
comedy
American
gold.
song, but just translate it literally into Portuguese. Like they'd be like, "Can you sing Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith?" I'm like, "No quiero fechar meus olhos, no quiero dormir, ainda teria saudades de você, e eu não quero ter saudades." And they just laugh their asses off.
That's a
So
pretty interesting translation because, like, 'cause what is the verb? What is the actual verb to miss?
There's
Like-
not really. They say ter saudades. They don't say.
No, but like if you were to use the Portuguese verb
Perder.
to miss with the shot, but that's to lose.
Yeah, that's to lose. It's
like if you're.
You can say perder or deixar, but it's.
I guess so. Yeah. No, that's right. It doesn't work. That's weird how that shit works.
So I was looking at.
Eu não quero ter saudades.
I was thinking of a version because there's this song Chan Chan by the Buena Vista Social Club, and there's this like one line in it where I was seeing how they translated it. They kept the rhyme in it going, but there's this line where he's like, "I drool because of how hot I am for you," and that's like I read like what it says in the poem because I thought like they'd probably like change it up just to make it fit or something like that. It kind of gets it, like the love that I have for you, I can't deny it. I drool a bit, I can't help it. You know, and
No, that's, I always think of that. There's that Michel Tello song that I love that came out worldwide fame when I was on my mission, and it was so famous that he decided to translate it into English. I think I've shown it on here before, but his it sounded like when he translated it into English, he just put it into Google Translate. So he's like, "Wow, this way you're gonna kill me. Oh, if I get you, oh my God, if I get you." And I'm like, look, I explain to people, this makes sense in Portuguese, okay? That this dipshit decided to just translate it literally.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, like with the song Chega de Saudade, because like the sentence Chega de Saudade means what? Arrive at the withoutedness.
The withoutedness. That's the best.
Like,
I've never...
Did you guys ever see that Italian song that the guy wrote in like English gibberish?
No.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Like what English sounds like to Italians. That's brilliant.
He said nobody in Italy is ever gonna like my song that I write in Italian, so I'm gonna write this song.
He wanted to prove it. There's a thing in Italy where they said like if you did anything in English, it did better if you did it in Italian. And to prove it, he did English sounding gibberish.
With a cold May day, one freezing cold and dancing I choose all right.
I guess I'll write sort of a word. It's a superior, like this is straight gibberish. It's but what English sounds like. Kristen Colonencian.
This is amazing.
And it's soul. It did like it like no one too.
Like my American brain is trying to make sense of it.
Trying to
You
make
can't
it
do
make
it.
sense.
Because you're like, well, that's English. I recognize those noises.
This is fucking amazing. I love that.
Isn't that incredible? Keep going.
Oh yeah, I've never seen
La
that.
Buena Vista Social Club. Yeah, that song's so good. I love that Chan Chan song. Yeah. El amor que te tengo no lo puedo evitar. Yeah, that's good stuff. Should we keep? I feel like that's less gibberish than Peterson lyrics. All right, back to the lyrics. Let's see here. Richard Rorty is truly not helpful. Man, I'm getting drunk. Richard Rorty is truly not helpful.
You could be an advertisement for Fresca.
Yeah, it buzzes me, man. This is vintage 1950 63 Fresca, man.
Christopher Rice is on. Christopher, I'm doing your Catholic guy thing on Sunday.
What is?
Oh, he told us to sign up for that Catholic guy's.
I keep meaning
I attended a Catholic funeral mass.
The Catholic and Buddhist and all that stuff.
I did the Buddhist, and then
are we gonna go on that together or all separate? What have we been doing now?
Oh, I don't know. I already signed up for it.
You're signed up, so you're going on.
Yeah, I'm going on Sunday.
Okay.
He's like booked out till February right now.
I'll check it out then.
I think he only. He might interview all of us at once, but I've only ever seen him interview one or two people at a time. But
it's Christopher Rice been asking us to go on this other podcast of
Catholic Versus.
I want to be.
He'll be on it. Watch it.
He's very Catholic, and he's very. It's interesting. One of his favorite thing to ask at the end of every episode is, it's very very important to him to know that I am a young Earth creationist. Are you a young Earth creationist? Tell me what you think about the age of the Earth. Yeah, he asks that every time.
I want to go fight with Catholic guy because I've got a lot of opinions that Catholics don't like.
Well,
but I like Catholics. I think they're cool.
No, I know he seems like a good dude. Like Christopher here is saying, he used to be a Satanist and now he's a Catholic. And
I don't know, because when somebody says they're a Satanist, it's just like
I know
we're taught in high school.
I used to listen to him.
I don't know, really, because like somebody's like, "Oh, I was Catholic," I'm like, "Oh, you joined a religion." When somebody's like, "Oh, I was a Satanist," like, "Oh, you played D&D." That's how I feel about it. That's how silly it is.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of expect to get like a little, because I don't know, when I listen to like Christian YouTube, it's mostly like I feel like you guys are just getting caught up on dumb stuff. It's always like I feel like there's bigger fish to fry than transubstantiation versus consubstantiation, and like I maybe this is a benefit to have been raised Mormon, but none of that makes sense to me, because when I was a Mormon, if somebody asked me like, do you believe in the Trinity, and I said no, and they said, well, I do believe in the Trinity, I'm not going to try to prove them wrong, and I'm not even going to tell them that they're damned for thinking that way, but like it's a big point of argument in Christian circles.
It's the autistic people, because they're trying to make sense of it.
Man,
these guys, the nuts and bolts of it.
Like Jay Dyer with the Orthodox stuff, but I listen to these couple Catholic channels. Some of them were talking about the synod and synodality type stuff. Tim something or other, Nolan from Nolan Knows, and I listen to them talk about like all the old catechisms and Pope this guy and Pope that guy, and it gets 10 times as deep divey whatever sorts of stuff of ancient history of this guy wrote that and that guy wrote this than Mormonism could ever even shake a fist at. Like, obviously, it should be there.
He's been having a lot of Mormons on lately because Christopher keeps sending them his way.
It's like the whole grace versus works thing.
Yeah, I know. I can't imagine caring about that.
No, but they talk about like Vatican II, and they talk about this Pope in 1856 and this other Pope in 1722, and
like grace versus works is like a recent fight in the history of Christian fights. Like it goes back to is God 100%, or sorry, is Jesus 100% God and 100% man, or is he 50% and 50% man or God? Like that's the original, one of the original fights, the OG fights. The whole grace versus works thing is like a recent issue.
No, I know, and what I'm saying is that I can't imagine giving a damn, I can't imagine it like really.
Well, you got to remember, if you believe,
because that's the whole Christian thing. But no, I believed the stuff at one time. Like at one time, I called myself Christian. Obviously, a lot of these Christians would say that I wasn't
about
Christian.
that stuff, like the Trinity, when you were a believer?
No, I mean, I didn't believe in the Trinity, but if somebody were to tell me like, oh, I believe in the Trinity, I don't think that it matters that you disbelieve in the correct thing. You know, like
But it
I
does
think my
to
thing's-
Mormons because Joseph saw God.
No,
in Jesus.
I understand that it does to Mormons, but they don't.
No, so you're not
Mormons
thinking
don't
like an
view it.
autistic person.
No, Mormons don't view it as like essential to your salvation. They don't think. That
No,
you're,
but you're not thinking about it like an autistic person because Joseph saw God and Jesus. Trinity can't be correct.
No, I agree. No, when I was a Mormon, I did not believe in the Trinity. Right? I definitely believe that they're three separate people. But what
No,
I'm
but
saying,
it really matters when you say like it. Well, like you didn't care, but like for an autistic Mormon, well, like you have to believe the right thing.
But no, you don't.
Not if you had a vision. And you don't get excommunicated. Oh, Jonathan, I had a vision. I had a vision, and my vision says I can say whatever I want about the church, and I don't get excommunicated. You guys take your degeneracy elsewhere.
I just don't like. I never understood it because it's always like, well, you think that God is one person. I think they're three separate people, and that's the thing that's going to separate us into heaven and hell. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That sounds insane.
Have you ever read Aquinas and how he tries to like make Trinity work?
I've like.
If you want some freaking calculus to melt your brain, man, like that.
Well, reading the fucking Nicene Creed makes your brain melt. It like they are three and they are distinct, but they're still just one, but they're different in purpose, but not.
Yeah, that's all the stuff. Like, I think it stems from Aquinas, like the way they try to sort it out, especially in like a Eastern Orthodoxy. But I think both the churches use Aquinas a whole lot. But
I don't know. Every time I hear Douglas Murray talk about how he goes to church, I go and I listen to church people. I'm like, fucking how, man? Like I want to. I'd love to believe in some of this, and I would love to like think that church means something. I don't understand how you can. I don't know how you can gain anything from this. How do you go to church and then be like,
it's the community,
like,
man? But like the actual words and stuff is tough.
But that's like, it's like I 100% get where you're coming from right now, Jared, because it's all just so silly and so strange. But attending this Catholic funerary mass, it's like it hit home. It's a thing that John Larson talked about years ago, back when John Larson was cool. He did it like Sunstone, Arizona, where he talked about like he basically was calling out atheists, like, you guys say that you're the fucking moral people. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but an atheist dies. Where do you have that funeral? Who fucking takes care of that? You know? And because that's the thing, it's like with these Catholics, like this, I mean, my friend died, and you know, he was a Buddhist atheist, and like he wasn't disrespectful of Catholicism because his parents were Catholics, but he wasn't Catholic, you know. But like, you know, but his parents allowed him to have a Buddhist funerary rites in addition to the Catholic funerary rites. But like, it was all done at the Catholic Church. The Monsignor was there. The Monsignor knew the family, and everything was all very extremely well done. And there was a wonderful piano player, and she sang, and there was a beautiful building, and everybody knew exactly what to do. And that's what fucking church does. Is when somebody dies, you don't have to fucking scramble and wonder what the fuck do I do? Like,
this is
atheism has no way to fucking throw a funeral. Like,
this
and
is
I'm an
where
atheist.
this is where I get all autistic, because I just can't. I don't know. I can't find meaning in church, right? Because
So
I
there's
understand that like I went to a Catholic mass one time, and I think ritual is important to humans, and I don't know why.
The
And
liturgy type
I
stuff.
don't want ritual to be important to humans. I think it is. I don't want it to be. I hate ritual. I hate it all, but I know it means something.
So Vervaeke, he tries to point and draws it out. And even Vervaeke, once again, he's the philosopher dude who he still holds on to atheism, but he talks about some of the things that are lost when you don't have that world. And he draws on these 4 Ps that there's these different, some of your knowing isn't just you knowing a thing in your head. There's some things about going into the world and participating, having a perspective, which is like we're all sitting in the pews looking up at this one person and we're all looking in the same direction. Like a lot of it is embodied. He talks a lot about how it's in your physical, the procedural thing, and a propositional idea. Like what he's talking about is like you're kind of getting more there than just the concept of here's an idea. Do you think this idea is true or not true? Like
Well,
you would call that a little bit autistic. But let me just say one other thing. I heard some other people talking about, Flip's mentioned several times that maybe going to like a pastor or a bishop would be better than going and paying a therapist. And I heard somebody talking about one of the advantages that a bishop or pastor has is that he knows you in this world of participating, perspective, procedure. He knows your family. He knows, he sees you around everything. You go to some therapist and it's really just your brain telling that therapist what you think about stuff. And then he's going to start trying to guess stuff off of your brain of how you've described stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas the pastor's seen you in this world of interaction.
So I guess the best answer that I've come up with to all of this is that the general church attendance feels meaningless and nonsensical to me. But things like weddings and funerals seem deeply meaningful to me when they're at a religious place. And maybe all that gobbledygook bullshit in the middle is just the tax you pay to earn the meaningful funerals and weddings.
Like, this might be kind of tangential, but when Jordan Peterson talks about like how are people are religious whether they think they are or not, this is something I was thinking about going to this funeral mass, because like the first time I went to a Catholic mass, I was, I don't know, 9 or 10 or 11, something like that, because there was a Catholic church like 100 yards from my house, literally. And one day I was like, I'm going to go check out this thing. And my mom's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to go to Catholic church. She's like, all right, don't be Catholic. You're Mormon. I'm like, I know. and as like a little kid going to the church, like when it was time for everybody to go up and take the wafer and the wine, I was like, God, I want to know what that's like. But I'm a Mormon. Mormons don't do that. And
Mormons just believe.
Yeah. But like, and Mormons, and I've been to mass a few times since then. And the thing is, like, so I was at this funeral mass, and while the mass was happening, I have this thought where it's like, because I've been an atheist for 20 plus years now. And like, and I want to try everything. I'm anthropologically, pathologically curious, and I want to taste everything. I want to try everything. I want to experience everything. And I know that nobody would say anything. I know that it would not be anything at all if during this funeral mass, when it was time to walk up and take the wafer and the sip of wine, nobody would have said anything. Nobody would have stopped me. But even as an atheist, I was like, no, the rules, the Catholic rules, which I don't believe in.
Yeah,
I don't believe in lick of that shit, but their rules are that you need to be in communion.
So-
if you're going to do this shit.
You're in their
don't
dojo.
do that shit. Yeah.
With my last girlfriend, I attended Catholic church with her for like a year. And
Did you ever go eat the chip and the wine?
no, I didn't. Although I got some water on me sometimes when they'd spray that around. But,
Well,
or
they're
flick it around or
throwing
something.
that. You're
But-
not at fault for that.
I remember at first being like, this is so sweet. It's just an hour and you're gone, man. And then after like the 15th time, you're like, I would take 3 hours if somebody just spoke their mind and said what they said and not just coming here and the same thing again. Like I started going nuts with it, just sit a bunch of times into it. But I don't know. I guess I get why they like it and go and see it and do it and stuff. But I don't know. Church, I can't. Part of me kind of goes like, yeah, go do it, and then like, I'm not going. I don't go anywhere. I'm not.
No, I know. I feel like I want to tell people to go to church, and that feels hypocritical because I just can't fucking do it. Anytime I've never. If I were to go to church again, it'd be a Mormon church. Every other church I've gone to has just felt like cheesy and boring. The Mormon church is cheesy too, but like I don't know. It's
I
like
have an ex-Mormon friend that referred to sacrament meeting as shareholder meeting, and he hit the nail on the head. Because that's the thing about like Catholic Church, it's weird and it's boring, but at least there's the weird costumes and there's the pomp and the ceremony and there's the censer. Like they light a thing on fire. It's cool. And also like, because in this funeral thing, I saw the Buddhist thing. And the Buddhist thing, like there was the chanting in the foreign language. And like I enjoyed the musicality of it. It was all pentatonic and there was a rhythm and there was a groove to it. And and they spun little things and they wore silly clothes. And there's something to it. But like Mormon Church really just does feel like a fucking meeting.
Oh, it's
like
dope.
a work meeting.
But there is
it kind of depends on you getting like the only way Mormon sacrament meeting can be interesting is if you have somebody who happens to be a decent speaker, and that just doesn't happen hardly at all.
You have the Mormon stand-up comedians.
Yeah, like the talk joke, blah 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 blah.
Like it's like in
know.
awards, there were the guys where like there was a sigh of relief when a certain person got asked to speak. Where you're like, okay, well this will at least be entertaining.
And then there was the opposite side when the wrong person got up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then if you had like one of those bishops who felt that they had to like cap off every meeting with another.
What's funny is
15
like
minutes.
talking about like Netflix having the leash taken off, because that's the thing is like because I have some family members that were able to get laughs in sacrament meeting, and that's like a comedic tightrope to walk to stay in good Mormon standing and get a genuine laugh in sacrament meeting.
But I can't talking about all this stuff. We brought it up before, but I can't get past. And there's a lot of different philosophers to talk about, and I brought it up. But this is a good episode on it: the coming psychological Black Death. And one of the things pointing at it is that you can look at all through stuff through history and just how our society is getting totally separated from each other and all that sort of stuff. And you can definitely point at it's because we can't figure out getting along together in that church thing. That's part of it. Like if we're not all going to that same church, that's part of why we're falling the hell apart, amongst other things. But not like that means, well, we can just go do it now or something like that. But I highly recommend listening to this episode of like all the stuff he kind of talks about and brings up about we're probably going to move into like a Black Plague death, like how many people are going to die. And it's going to, that's going to be one of the things about the whole entire thing. And not just die. I mean, some of it's that people aren't going to be born as much too. But we're going to see some massive population change and you can look at it. It gets into rat utopia stuff, which we've talked about. But,
oh God, yeah.
Anyway,
everybody I've ever showed that to, there's so many people I show that rat utopia thing to. If I ask them about it later, they're always like, "Man, I think about that like 3 or 4 times a week."
Yeah. This is the Catholic guys I listen to. I listen to those Rules for Radical guys. Holy crap, man! Like when they go on deep dive stuff, like sometimes I sympathize. Like people like say, "You guys talk about such inside baseball Mormon stuff." I think the Catholic stuff, when you get real inside baseball guys with it, it's 10 times worse than whatever we got.
Oh yeah, they got 10 times the history to deal with.
But this is all inside baseball too. Inside baseball of postmodernism. Like not a lot of people know Andrew Dork and Richard Rorty. I wouldn't even like really call him. Like, I mean, he kind of was, but he's a little bit pre postmodernist. But I also wouldn't call him like one of the most problem people. Like he was kind of more of like a true philosopher type deal.
I don't know Richard Rorty. That's a reference I don't understand.
Yeah, because he's earlier than the postmodernists. Like he was like 19.
Let's find out using the internet. I remember when I used to have to ask my dad, like, who's Richard Rorty? And he would make something up.
1931 to 2007 is when he died. But he was most popular earlier than the postmodernists. And he's into epistemology and stuff like that. So he was like precursor to the postmodernists, but he was kind of more of like a real deal philosopher, Nietzsche, Heidegger, Foucault. He was later apprehended as a postmodernist deconstructionist philosopher.
Was Andrea Dworkin ever a hooker?
Yeah, she was like a total sex fiend nutter. Dworkin is the nuttiest one of all of them.
But like, was she genuinely a hooker?
Yeah. And
Or is that
she
just a
also
story she told.
she also kind of like wrote some of the stuff about like the most kitty diddling stuff there is out there. D'Angelo, known as Robin, like that sort of rhyming. That's rhyming I hate right there. D'Angelo, known as Robin.
That
Oh, come on.
hack.
Yeah.
That's a hack move.
Groups define us. Oh, so she proclaims it's time we put her in her place.
Yeah, this was rushed.
Yeah, this
I've got a really good idea, and we gotta get it published right bloody now.
It's like when you read about the recording of Pet Sounds and you find out that like Brian Wilson hired a poet to help him brush up lyrics. Like this is why. This is why Brian Wilson hired that guy. Jordan Peterson needed that guy.
Yeah.
So we watched the live action One Piece, which I was pretty impressed with because I've never seen an anime that was translated well to live action. It's pretty decent. It made me go back and watch the first few episodes of the anime, and they had a dog in there that it's just clearly a person going roof roof. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, the anime is weird, man.
How difficult is this to just like you could just sound clip an actual dog barking?
You can tell they cut a lot of corners in the anime. Like there's all sorts of like one like suddenly like it'll go to just like one screenshot of one guy and like the action and the talking will keep going, but it's just like a single as if it were a comic book or something. But I actually heard that one of the reasons for that is because the guy is like a hyper do-it-yourselfer type guy. Like he can't delegate, and so he does it all. So it's like one guy who like works himself to death to put the whole thing out, and they had to talk him into getting helpers to help him with it. Let's hear Jamie Foxx's Trump.
On both sides. I know Harry. He's a great person. He couldn't vote for me at the time. Now he can vote for me once he gets out. I love Snoop D-O double G. Great person.
So do you love Death Row Records?
I love
People of
Death
both
Row.
sides.
I love Death. Excuse me. Fake news. I love Death Row.
What's your favorite Death Row record, Mr. Trump?
All of them. All of the Death Row records. Don't try to pin me down. I see what he just. Excuse me.
Fake news.
Excuse me.
Fake news.
Fake news.
That is excellent. That is perfect.
That's
Holy shit.
The only one I've ever seen that's better than that is Shane Gillis.
That's great. That's probably because Jamie Foxx can empathize with Donald Trump's narcissistic need for affirmation.
Yeah, well, I don't know. If there's much more. I can share some memes, but might be.
I'm gonna go.
You're going to England.
Yeah, unless if I get up at 3 a.m, I can join you guys. But I don't know if that'll be a thing. But I'm seriously thinking. I don't know. Like it's all kind of nebulous because I've got one Sunday in England. And I'm seriously considering going to church just to see.
Mormon church or
Mormon church?
England church?
So, well, that's what I kind of wonder. It's like, what if I just filled my Sunday? Because there's a lot of Jehovah's, there's a lot of witnesses in Merseyside. That's a church, and then of course there's always Church of England church. I learned a thing about my family history talking about churchy church because genealogy is a churchy church, and I'm going to England in part to go visit the ancestral stomping ground. But if I go, my dad's the first American Johnson came here in 1638 or 37.
Whoa.
Yeah, so early guys. But then it turned out, here's the thing, like for the longest time I was like, oh, I'm a Euro mutt. I'm a little bit of everything but French, until I found out yesterday because the Mormons have been expanding the genealogy. Thank you, Mormons, by the way, for doing that. But in the 10th century, there was some guy born in Normandy who moved to Lincolnshire, and he died in the 11th century. So, like, it turns out I'm French after all. All this time I thought I wasn't, but I'm a fucking Norman.
Do you guys care about Matthew Perry's death?
Yeah, you know, that much.
I mean, death is sad, but like,
could you die anymore at 54?
That last year I actually listened to his entire book.
No, you told us that because you said I remember you talking about how it's just BoJack Horseman, but it was a real guy.
I think he's BoJack Horseman. I swear I'm like you listen to these whole chapters of him quitting cigarettes about I did this, and then in the very beginning of the next chapter, you just went through that whole ride, going through all these different hypnotists and all this stuff, and then it finally worked after the 54th time. And then the next chapter, like, so I started smoking again, and then just like leaves it behind and just kind of goes off to the next thing.
Did I tell you?
Well, I kind of wonder, like,
did I tell you that my wife went through a hypnotism class?
Oh
Really?
my god!
It was
Class where in university or
no? Like she took a she
like become a hypnotist, or
she wanted to be a hypnotist, so she took a course,
Uh,
a very expensive course in
to be a life coach hypnotist?
St. Louis. So she took the hypnotist class, and she called me when she was in the middle of taking it, and she was like, "These guys are telling me all these amazing things, like Drew and Dawn, the people who are teaching me the hypnotism class, they're telling me that 98% of the time they can get smokers to quit smoking on the first visit." And I was like, well, they're lying to you. And she was like, well, you don't really, how do you know that? Like, you don't know that? I was like, I know that. I'm so confident in the thing that I'm saying right now. I haven't researched it at all, but I'm very confident. It's insane the things that they'll tell you.
Yeah.
That, like,
it's funny, like, because on this subject, because I was thinking about this, because like I paid money for a certification in wine evaluation, and it's in a course that's not quite the same as sommelier, but it's very related to sommelier. Like we blind tasted wines and stuff like that. And I was thinking about this thing because like I get in fights because I'm in the industry, and I always get in fights with people because long before I was even into wine, I listened to skeptics, and they talked about. I knew about research that showed that it's the simplest thing in the world to fool wine experts. And there was that documentary Somm on Netflix, and everybody knows, like, if you spend any time looking into this, you find out, like, when they do these sommelier tests, they don't ever tell you if you were right or wrong. That's a secret. You're just it's just pass fail. And it took me forever to realize, like, hang on a second. If they were hitting at anything close to a statistically significant rate, they would be bragging about that shit. They would be advertising that shit from the rooftops. And how we know that sommeliers are bullshit? Because it's all secret. That's how we know. That's how we know that they can't really.
Did you hear about the big scandal they had a few years ago that like people were
Which big scandal? There are
one of the big scandals was people were cheating the test. People were
Oh.
cheating the test, and they were finding out.
Oh.
So they
I
thought
wondered.
people really did figure out how to do this stuff. But actually, one of the ways they knew people were cheating the test is because they were getting it right.
Yeah, I believe that. No, that makes sense. No, like there's so much subjectivity to it. It's just hilarious. But that's how the human psychology works.
This is Michael Malice is the worst person in the world for making this meme. But
no, he made it.
What's that?
He made that meme.
Yeah, he made it.
That's funny.
Where'd it go? Yeah, because he kept going and he added stuff to it. He puts the Occupy Democrats down in the corner. So
yeah.
But
speaking of shitty audiobooks, I have come dangerously close to using one of my Audible credits to download Jada Pinkett Smith's book.
Oh, Jada Pinkett! Look at you. See this one?
I've come close. Well, I got an advertisement to get it for free if I signed up with Audible, but I've already signed up with Audible.
I heard the book was a bust, though. You're gonna give her sales. Like a lot of people were laughing that nobody bought it.
Yeah,
man, it is so hard. Like there were a bunch of actual things of Matthew Perry being in the bathtub all the time in that show Friends, and that's just going to be meme trouble forever, man.
Has anybody, because Jada Pinkett Smith, her whole like new metal thing?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, Jared?
She did some music.
Look up Jada Pinkett Smith new metal. Because I was gonna say, like, because it's people. She's mostly gotten away with that. But there was like a total vanity thing. It was a famous thing. Like she tried to make a new metal band, and she had like a concert debut, which was like filmed and was filled with paid shills. Like everybody in the audience was paid to be there. You should look it up. It's hilariously bad. Talking about it's like Jordan Peterson. It's similar. Jordan Peterson doing rap and Jada Pinkett Smith doing new metal. Very, very similar.
Michelle Foucault, the terrible man. He philosophized and it was bad. Look, I'm catching right up to him. This guy's got the worst cartoons in the world. The difference between you
the
and me
naked pastor. Jesus Christ.
is you use scripture to determine what love means, and I use love to determine what scripture means.
If you ever want to know what lefty
Ew.
if you ever want to know what lefty boomers think, just read this comic. Those are the people who are constantly sharing that comic with me.
Don't sacrifice your children to Baal, vote Moloch. Don't sacrifice your children to Moloch, vote Baal.
Okay. Oh. That's just good composition. That tells a story. That's good.
Okay, you want the most infuriating thing ever? This is real. The Rings of Power's Sauron reveal fixed a major Lord of the Rings movie problem.
Oh, fuck you.
Sauron wasn't as effective a villain as he could have been in the Lord of the Rings movies, but the Rings of Power Halbrand fixes this problem. The Rings of Power series solves a problem in the Lord of the Rings by revealing Sauron's identity and giving depth to his
my God. Oh my fucking God.
No. How did they miss the point?
Jesus Christ.
No.
How did you miss the point that hard?
I try not to get super passionate about but holy fuck.
Wow.
See, I always think it's stupid when somebody tries to reveal the Joker's backstory or tries to reveal his name or whatever.
Yeah.
But they've sometimes done it in an okay-ish fashion. I still just want him to be a mystery. But fucking Sauron. Like, there's a reason you never see Sauron in the flesh. Or even really in his armor, other than like from flashbacks.
There's no way that whoever that guy is there on the screen can't pussify the concept of Sauron entirely.
Christ.
You know, I was thinking about because one of the best video games ever in the history of ever is Silent Hill 2. And it is a psychological horror game. And it's funny because one day YouTube suggested a speed run of it. And I realized that if you just know the puzzles and you avoid all fights, it's nothing. The game is nothing. It's the simplest, easiest, stupidest game in the world. And the reason that game was so brilliant is that it made you imagine all the horrible things. It it didn't tell you why you were scared. It let your brain fill in the scary blinks. And that's why Sauron isn't literally fleshed out.
Not only that, he's supposed to be this all-encompassing hanging thing over your head that you don't quite know, that sees you. That
exactly. It's Sauron is mysterious. You know.
I mean, that was my biggest complaint with I don't know if you ever played them. The Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. It's basically like the Batman Arkham series, but Lord of the Rings. They're fun games.
Are they?
Yeah, the gameplay is fun, and a lot of the elements are fun. The story is just dog shit. It's terrible, and especially they show you Sauron. He looks different from that guy. He looks like an elf, basically.
He doesn't look like just a fucking Dawson's Creek dude.
No, he doesn't look like Aragorn. He looks like Legolas. It's just a different kind of stupid.
Yeah.
All righty.
Did you see Eminem's child Stevie says they're in their first serious relationship after
Dude,
coming out of
that
non-binary?
Eminem's child is non-binary.
Yeah.
Stuff's looking up, fellas. Stuff's looking up. I'll be there for
Remember when
you.
Eminem was counterculture?
Oh
You
wait,
guys
I
remember
gotta.
all the way back when Eminem was edgy?
Hey, so before we go, I gotta send my favorite Friends parody. Let me find it. Okay, hang on, it's coming.
Here's a dumb little meme. Do beavers even know what they're doing, or do they just see water flowing down river and think absolutely not?
It's a good question.
Fuck that. Okay, I put the
No,
I put it in
no. This
Where did you
flowing
put it?
water thing.
in the StreamYard chat.
Oh,
This is one of my favorite Friends parodies.
it's a
I never watched Friends. So.
Right. Am I gonna get beat to the song?
I don't know.
I'm gonna turn. We know the song. I'm gonna turn it down.
You can't do it on this
funny.
song.
Jesus.
Have you guys watched Friends?
Not
I
recently.
watched a couple episodes when I was like 15, but I don't.
A year ago, I watched all of it, but just technically in the background when I practiced guitar. So I got a lot better guitar at it. I don't think I laughed once. I think I smirked or smiled 1 or 2 or 3 times. And that's like the entire series.
I remember watching the whole series on DVD and enjoying it, but like, yeah,
It's so perfectly mid, but at the same time, too, what is better about it is it's more serious moments. Like the serious drama that happens is actually the part that's more interesting. But Chandler was the funniest part of it. That is true, but that's not like a huge thing. But Ward Radio. I mean, it's time to get going. I got to go walk Charlie. But
Charlie dog.
What do you think their big live stream was, man? Like,
I don't know. It's about how reincarnation is real.
About a subject we were talking about, but
they found
the
steel in
BYU-ASA
Aztec
official
America.
BYUSA club.
Oh, he's talking about the Palestinians at BYU.
Has leadership that posted comments warmed to the T attack on Israel October 7th. Should BYU be approving clubs with leaders who hold these views and they won't approve a Turning Point USA chapter? They're like,
all right, what's their announcement?
Yeah,
Is that
make
it?
sure that you head on over and I know you might have to create
We're
an account,
changing our name again. You know what I'm saying?
but yes, if you can, please subscribe to our
We're
channel.
changing our name
So
again.
anyway,
I think they should be the special spirits.
I'll figure out what it is. I'll listen.
Can we change our show to the special spirits?
Yeah, we can. That'd be pretty good. We do it. Do a big relaunch, rebrand.
Yeah.
Have Nick DiPaolo as in fourth chair.
Where is Charlie Dog? Put him on the screen.
Right
there.
down there. Come here.
I had a great. I had a
That's
great
a Charlie
Halloween.
dog.
I dressed up as my supervisor. I look like his
Nice.
tattoo, like it's a fake tattoo, but it's like a common one they had. I shaved my head.
Whoa.
That's how committed I was to looking like my supervisor.
Like
That's
that's
funny.
if you show up at work as somebody who's showing all the symptoms of acute radiation poisoning, is that an acceptable joke?
I mean, so
No,
where I
no,
work-
it's okay, guys. I've just been throwing up. I'm tired. It's fine.
So the place
All
that
right.
I've worked there for like 8 years, and I've been I think I've probably got like 20 millirem of exposure.
Whoa.
And that's
I
not
don't know how much that is.
that's not even like a tenth
X-ray.
of the that's not even a tenth of the amount that you'll get in one x-ray. So
Yes.
I'm good.
No, I've learned enough about
Yeah.
radiation. Know not to be freaked out about radiation.
Yeah.
Yeah, join the Latter Day Longhouse, and that's where we'll start filling it up with all sorts of terrible things that we should not be showing or discussing. I wanted to show you one last goofy thing before we take off. Watch this. Watch this commercial. Hold on. Oh, let me see if we can find it. Oh man, here it is. This is all of the messages to the West condensed down into this one little commercial. I'm telling you, man, this is what it is.
I'm gonna go full screen.
Can I do that? No.
I can see it. It's working. Oh.
I've chosen the pure cremation plan because they take care of the essentials, and then my family can celebrate my life and protect me. They can say their goodbyes at my favourite seaside spot, or down the local with a few friends and a couple of pints. They could do something fun, something that's me. A pure cremation gives my family that freedom, and the plan takes away the worry and cost of organising a traditional funeral. It's easy to arrange, and the money saved is my gift to them.
Pure cremation is trusted by thousands of
Okay. Okay, wait, no.
Because it says not satire. That's really
That's
not
a real
satire.
commercial. That's a
Holy
real.
fuck!
Wow!
I thought he was being sarcastic when he was
No,
like,
that's real.
basically not satire.
That's something else. Wow.
You can die and have a cremation. You can not cost too much money on your very diverse family out of nowhere.
Fuck, that was
That's
amazing.
funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, go to the Latter Day Longhouse on Facebook. Catch y'all later.
Bye bye, Charlie dog.
Bye bye. Have fun in England, but
Oh yeah.
Do
all right.
It's gonna be fun.
Weird.